Good morning, members of council and visitors. I will call this committee of the whole meeting for Wednesday, June 10th to order. Madam Chair, or sorry, not Madam Chair. Madam Clerk, if you could do a roll call, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The roll call is now open.
Okay, we have quorum. Good to go. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have quorum. Members of Council, Committee of the Whole, declarations of pecuniary interest. Seeing none online? None. There are no statutory public meetings. We have two presentations today. The first presentation is Sheila Hall, Executive Director, and Dr. Anthony Stone, President and Chair of Docs for Durham, on the Family Physician Recruitment Program. I'm excited to have you here. Could you please come to the podium, please?
Good morning, Chair, members of committee. I'm Simon Gill, and I'm joined here by two great colleagues to report on the 2025 annual performance of Docs for Durham. 2 years ago, members of this committee received a report, and it detailed challenges that residents of Durham Region were facing accessing primary care physicians, family doctors. This was presenting health challenges, social challenges, and even economic development challenges. And so Council took action and created a program through funding by the region jointly with the 8 area municipalities and formed Docs for Durham, an external entity designed to help retain the learners that are learning to be family doctors in Durham Region, as well as recruit new family doctors to Durham Region to try and address those challenges. I'll pass it over to Sheila Hall for the update.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us. I'm actually going to turn it right over to Dr. Stone, and he's going to lead our presentation today, and then I will follow up with some more of the details.
Hey, Sheila. Hello, everyone, and thanks for the opportunity to speak to you. Let me start by saying thanks to all of you for making the decision to create this investment for Docs for Durham. It really, I think it creates a great opportunity for us here in Durham, in this primary care space, to build something in the primary care space that it could be the envy of Ontario. It'll take us all working together on this, and I'll go through some high-level pieces, and then Sheila will describe some detail to you. First, let me also thank you to this team here. So we have Laura, Arun, Simon, and Sheila, and all have been instrumental in kind of getting this program structured. I would say, you know, I have played a role on the physician side. I'm wearing a bunch of hats. So one of the other hats I wear is I've become the chair of a group called Primary Care Network Durham. That's part of the Durham Ontario Health team, and I think you're all familiar with the Ontario Health and their structure. So let me describe a little bit of what we're doing and how it dovetails with this. So at a high level, we know from the data we're receiving that here in Durham, still over 65,000 people are unattached to any physician at all. We still have another 100,000 plus people who live in Durham who have a remote or distant doctor. So when, you know, if you think about yourself, depending on where you live, if your doctor is 50 kilometers away, it's infrequent that you'll actually make the effort to get that far. So the goal that the province is chasing, that we will build together here, is to create this more geographic model for primary care, where primary care is more organized, more like the education system. We have a neighborhood design, you know, and the neighborhood design is structured to support. What's wrong? Oh, to support folks getting care close to home. But to do that, we have to close that gap in family medicine. in the big picture, I've been around a long time, and I've watched the ebbs and flows of what happens in the provincial system. And what I'll say now is that there's a unique opportunity with investment that the provincial government's making in primary care for us to leverage that to really build out this program. When you add what the province is doing to what Queens and Lakeridge are building together in terms of the training program right here in Durham, if all goes according to plan, this program will flourish and create a major pipeline for graduates. The reality of family medicine is, you know, these folks train for 6 or 7 years, and during those 6 or 7 years, they have about 1 hour of training in business. Everything else is focused on their career. When you graduate, you immediately discover that you need to be a small business person. That's what family docs are. So you have to, you get a gross income, you have staff to hire, the office to run, your lease to pay. That's how it really works. All these folks are graduating, most of them with significant debt. Now they're trying to launch their lives too. So this is where we come in, here as Docs for Durham, and here as a wider community. Because if we build the architecture to support these folks, we know we'll be successful. Sheila, I'll show you data. Already with the program that's here, when we do our hard work in connecting and supporting these folks, up to 60% of them stay right here in Durham. That's an incredible number. Let me just take a sip of water here. There are other opportunities too. We know that almost half of Canadian medical trainees are getting their initial training outside of Canada. There are lots of folks right here in Durham who are doing the same. They're doing med school in Ireland and Australia and the UK, US, and I've been working with 2 of them that are from here in Durham. During their medical school, they were staying with me and working with me during the summer, and now both of them are going to be doing family medicine residency right here in Ontario, and hopefully we get them back here. So that's kind of the big picture, and I think the real work for us is to then be very closely connected and build relationships with all of with those pipelines, the trainees, and I would say when you think about all of the folks who are training outside of Canada who come from Durham, there's an opportunity for us as well. The only thing I didn't flag for you is, OMA data or wider data shows that there's a lot of us in medicine who are like my age. And what does that mean? It means that the data suggests that 50% of family docs, because the average age is in the 50s, are contemplating retirement in the next 5 years. So we have work to do because we have this gap in terms of people without docs. We have this gap in people who live here, but their doctor's far away. And we have this potential gap as those like me reach a point where we're saying, okay, it's time to move on, to retire. And that's where we are. So let me just describe one other thing on the business side. This investment the council has made, I think it gives us a great opportunity, but we need to deepen these connections and how we organize ourselves. So I think about things like the Chambers of Commerce. I described to you the reality of what it means as a young doc coming and graduating and trying to figure out how to run their business and grow their practice and raise a family. And what we know is that in pockets here in Durham, we lack full infrastructure, right? Some docs are entrepreneurial and they can figure out how to build clinics and run them, but lots of docs aren't interested in that. So that's where we need to come together as a community with our business community, because there's a business case for making sure that we have the infrastructure all across Durham. These docs still have to pay rent. They have to lease space. What it means is that we have to think about how we connect with our business community where we have gaps in our infrastructure. And so I'm looking for you to be in support of all that work. This is work that we will do, but we really need you as partners in this. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sheila, and Sheila describe to you some of the detail of what she's been doing.
Thanks, Tony. Tony didn't follow the script at all, but he lined me up. He lined me up really well anyways. So what can we tell you? We're in September, well, August, I suppose, going to be welcoming our next 20 students. We will have a full complement of 80 students running through the program at Lakeridge Health Queens. And the school's doing amazing. The students are happy. The students are engaged in Durham Region, both academically and socially. And those two things are important because when they're out in clinic learning from our existing docs, they feel like they're part of the medical community. And when they're out coming to hockey games or walking the trails or going to trivia night, whatever it is they're doing in Durham Region, they feel like they belong in Durham Region and that they're at home, which is amazing. So that's exactly what the program was set up to do. And they continue to look at me as their mom, and when they want something, they have no qualms about coming and asking me. I always tell them, I will be your mom, but moms don't give you everything you ask for. I'll do what I can, right? So anyways, we're actively working with 19 leads from the UK right now. There's a real trend for docs in the UK to come to Ontario specifically, but many have identified Durham as one of their top locations of preference. Nothing I've learned over the last couple of years, nothing in this work is easy. Getting a doc from the UK and their families from the UK takes time, it takes patience, and it takes a lot of nurturing in that relationship. So there's lots of steps that have to go through. It takes on average 18 to 24 months for a doc from the UK to think about coming to the UK, to actually start their process and then land in their community of choice. So it's a long game. It's not, there's not quick wins, but we take what we can and we continue to nurture them. So we're also seeing an increase in interest from the medical students that Tony alluded to, from the US, from Ireland, wanting to come back to Canada. And so working through the process of the healthcare and provincial systems, how do we get them here, has been a big part of our learning lessons over the last several years. So our strategy focuses on the full physician pathway from medical learner engagement through to permanent practice establishment in Durham Region. Education programs and community engagement are driving higher retention. We see this through the Q-Ball program, which is the residency program that is done in partnership with Lakeridge Health and Queen's University. We had to take a baseline because the residency program started in 2012. We didn't start until 2024, so we had to kind of do a baseline. We figure between that year, the average was about 21% of the residents that learned in Durham Region stayed in Durham Region. Last year, the retention rate was about 62%. So we're really excited, and that doesn't happen because of one thing. That happens because of a lot of people in this community that are engaged and passionate about keeping them here and welcoming them into their lives. Tony alluded to the physician retirement, and I think that's a ball we have to keep a really close eye on and build the pipeline. So as we do this work and we are talking to learners, not only that are learning in Durham Region, but learning across Ontario, a lot of them, as they graduate, they want to do what's called locums, basically a supply teacher for doctors. And they're looking for the community they want to work in. They want to get experience in different communities. And so they're ours to lose. So making sure that we're making them comfortable while they're here and feel at home, and building that pipeline of recent graduates is really going to be critical to the success of attachment for patients in Durham Region. Let me see. I'm really proud of myself. I'm keeping up with my slide switches and everything. This is fantastic. So one of our strongest long-term opportunities is the Queen Lakeridge Health Family Medicine Program. We've talked about that, and I'm not sure there's much more to share, but we're really excited. One of the things we've had trouble balancing is the time they need to learn versus the time they need to play in Durham Region. And so we thank everybody in this room that's participated and offered opportunities in your communities to the learners. We have about an 87% participation rate from the students and the residents that are learning here. So, you know, they're engaged. They love Durham Region. And, you know, the few that don't stay, mostly because of family, not because of anything that Durham Region has done or not done. So I think that's a really important piece of information. So our challenges. Organization transition caused us a little bit of delay as we learned some valuable lessons, and proudly registered as a not-for-profit in Ontario last October, coming up to 1 year almost. So that new structure has allowed us to be a little more nimble and a little more flexible in our programming and what we can do and how quickly we can do it and turn around. So we're finding ways to provide opportunities that provide balance for academics and social outings. Building that pipeline and attraction externally takes on average 18 to 24 months. I think I mentioned that. One thing we did do is join the Eastern Ontario Physician Recruitment Alliance, long acronym, but they have been doing some wonderful work. So it's a collective of Eastern Ontario communities working on physician recruitment. There's a group of them that were in Birmingham this week, and they're promoting Durham because we're part of their team. So I have seen an increase in leads because of that alliance, and so navigating that and building more partnerships across Ontario is going to win new doctors for everybody. You know, if other communities get doctors, they're not going to steal from us, so that's a good thing, right? And then looking ahead, our focus for 2026 is growth, operational excellence, and deeper community integration. One of the things we have to do, if I have 19 doctors that I'm working with from the UK, where am I going to put them? What clinics are looking, which doctors are looking to take a sabbatical or a long-term vacation over the Christmas holidays? Keeping track of all those things when you have 45 plus clinics and over 400 doctors is a big job for a small team. And so we, you know, that's going to be a key focus for us over the next several months, is how do we build that communication between the existing clinics and docs through partnerships with PCN and the Ontario Health Team, and making sure that as we're gaining interest, we have somewhere to put them, right? So for those of you with connections to your clinics and your communities, tell them to stay connected with Docs for Durham. It matters. And then this is just to talk about our gratitude. You know, this work can't happen by one organization, one set of population, one group of people. It happens because everybody's connected. When we go to an Oshawa Generals game and Chair Henry shows up, it matters, right? When the students get an invitation from Clarington, the Mayor of Clarington, to go to the racetrack, that matters. It's a big deal for the students. And, you know, when we go sailing on Lake Ontario with Mayor Roy, it's a big thing. So I'm challenging everybody in this room to send us your opportunities. You know, we can't get all of them out at one time because there's so many of them now, but we will certainly share opportunities and help them get out and meet you and meet your communities and your opportunities. So. And then our last slide just sort of demonstrates all the partnerships that we currently are working with within Durham Region, and our gratitude. Couldn't do it alone, don't want to do it alone, and we're ready to move forward. We're ready to build that pipeline and build a healthier Durham Region.
Well, thank you. We have a number of councillors that have questions, so we'll start with Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. I get to be first. Hi. Good morning, Sheila and Dr. Stone. And I just want to thank you and the team for the wonderful work you do for our community, for all of Durham region. And the majority of folks appreciate what you do. So we're retaining over 60% of doctors that are trained here. Did I get that correct?
That was last year's stats. That's not the average. The average is much lower. But we know that the engagement has an impact on those stats. That was last year's number, though, Anderson, yes.
Okay, so these trainees are students. Are we doing anything to train? I know there are doctors doing other jobs from various countries. I know the government at one point was going to try and provide some kind of training and get their qualifications up to our standard or whatever it is. Are we doing anything to recruit or help those individuals become doctors?
Our focus has been and will continue to be, so it's an important question, but our focus has been this growing number of family medicine graduates from right here out of Durham. It's the biggest opportunity. The second most important focus are the trainees that are overseas, because so there are 4 countries where if you train there and you do your residency there in family medicine, you can immediately be licensed in Ontario. That's very important for the work effort, because what you want with this small team is to focus their effort on the areas which are likely to yield the greatest results. Where it comes to trainees from other countries besides the key 4, so it's the UK, Ireland, the US, and Australia. Outside of those countries, there are a lot of hoops for these trainees and graduates to go through. For sure, if they are successful in getting through that process, because most of them actually have to come and retrain here, then we would still entertain. But I think if you think about what we're trying to achieve right here, and the fact that by 2029, there will be, if this all works according to the Queen's Lakeridge Plan, like over 40 or even 50 family medicine graduates a year, and we do an excellent job with the people who are here, then I think we're going to do great in Durham. Add to that the folks who come from the 4 countries who get that immediate licensing. That is our focus, Granville. And but where there are opportunities elsewhere, we certainly would engage.
All right. Through the chair. So what would you tell the folks the few that complain about we shouldn't be doing this, taxpayers shouldn't be paying for the recruitment process, it's not our role, etc. And what would you tell them? And what's the value of everyone in this community having a family doctor? What does that mean?
Okay, I'll go backwards in your questions. Okay. So there's actually a lot of literature that demonstrates that when people are attached to family docs primary care, that it produces better health outcomes, and it does so at a lower cost. That data is actually global data. So, and for those of you who have or have not had a family doc, we even saw this during the pandemic. There was a great data out of Ontario that showed a significant worsening of outcomes for people who had no attachment to family docs. So the evidence is clear that those connections make a difference to the lives and health of people. And a really strong primary care system, if you look globally, has also been demonstrated to reduce costs to the taxpayer. It's actually where primary care is strong, they have a better system, stronger system, more access at a lower GDP per capita. And then sorry, your other question, I worked backwards here. Oh, what would people say about the fact that Durham has chosen to invest in this?
Right.
So I guess my response is this: if not us, then who? I think if your question or the question that people are asking has to do with the context or concept that medicine is free, I think everyone in this room knows that's not accurate. Medicine isn't free. We all pay through our taxes. And I deliberately explained to you how family docs are trained, how they actually come out to run small business, but they have their lives to lead. And how it is that we will really grow a very strong primary care infrastructure here if we recognize that, and then we work with these young folks to get them welcomed and situated and supported. That's the reality. So if not us, I don't know who, Granville, because it's not the job of the province to situate doctors anywhere in Ontario. It's our job.
I agree with you, and thank you, and again, thank you for the work you do. It's very valuable, and as I said, most of the community understand and appreciate that. So thank you again. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Chair, through you. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I had a really interesting conversation. I was at the doctor's the other day and he introduced me to I don't know if this is the right terminology, the owner of the family practice. Is that the thing? Is that how you,
No, we don't own family practices
is it a
unless.
manager or?
So there's the business unit of the family doc. So let's say your family doc works in a clinic. That might they own the clinic? They could. Oftentimes, what happens is the doctors work in groups, and the group has a manager.
Okay,
So it might
that's
be.
who I talked to.
Yeah, it's probably the manager who manages the physician group and all of their staff.
So they have two sections to the office. One is for specialized and one is for family practice. But what he was saying is he has doctors coming to him all the time wanting to be part of this practice, but they don't have enough patients, which I thought was kind of a weird scenario to be in. And so I guess, I realize that's not the case in all areas, and maybe it's location for him, but how do we reach out to individuals who are looking for a doctor? I mean, I've tried putting, my little bit of social media on it, but how do we actually reach out to people who are looking for family doctors, whether through different demographics in the area that may not be, language might be a barrier or whatever. That's how, because I was I thought that was and then I hadn't actually heard that before. I'd heard the opposite, that not enough doctors and too many patients, but this was the opposite scenario. So I don't know.
I don't know how much time we want to take in council this morning, but so that speaks to this other activity that we're doing as part of the Ontario Health Team, and this thing called the Primary Care Network. What we're doing is we're creating this inventory of clinics all across Durham. Sheila already described that, and building the relationships with those clinics, and then understanding what the capacity is within those clinics. We as part of that work, we will also be, this is a complicated story, but we will also then be leveraging that understanding to then support new graduates and where they get distributed here in Durham. And what we will be doing is widely advertising through social media and media around the opportunity to attach. So I'll give you two examples. You might be aware with the provincial investment, the Ford government is hoping to get most of Ontario attached by 2029. It would be quite a feat if it happens. But what we've been doing inside Durham is we are actually designing a structure to support that goal. So we're organizing 7. We call them patient medical neighborhoods. This is what I told you about the modern primary care approach. It's a little more education, like the education system. This is Jane Philpott's thinking. And so what happens is we are creating that very structure. We're doing the inventory of activity. We're understanding what the deficiency is. We know how many people are unattached. So if we will identify those docs who are available, and then we'll help support what their advertising looks like.
Maybe I should hook you two up.
You should actually.
Maybe he is. I'm not sure, but I can. Yeah.
But I do think it's important because it's Docs for Durham will be working with this primary care network and then developing the contacts and the relationships Durham-wide that help to address that very question.
Great. Thank you.
Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your presentation this morning. I have 3 areas. The first one is kind of a 2-pronged approach, and I guess it relates to competition. So what's the competition like or the lack of family doctors like in other areas? And what's the need like in other areas? So that's one part of competition to draw doctors in. And I'm not just talking about Ontario, I'm talking about the country as well. And the second aspect of this is, are there any other family doctor programs like the one that's being worked on within the Durham region, within, Oshawa, Lakeridge Health, that sort of thing? And therefore, what's the competition there? So I don't know how you're going to approach these two areas, but that's what I'm looking to question here is, what are we up against here in Durham? And within Durham, what are we up against? And there are other locations, where's the need? So I wonder how you could address that, please.
I'll do it by percentages then. So I described those numbers to you in Durham about how many people have no attachment and then how many have a remote doc. In parts of Ontario, it's significantly worse. So, if you look at our problem in aggregate, it's somewhere probably around 8% of residents who are unattached, and then there's that other percentage with the remote doc. But there are several parts of Ontario where the unattached rate is 12%, 13%, 15%. People who don't have access. So that's the reality. The problem is even bigger across Canada, frankly, to be truthful, and particularly in the East Coast and parts of the West. But that's not our primary competition. And where it comes to what's happened is, and the benefits of this will become clear in the next few years. So there are actually a number of universities across Ontario that are building out these bigger and stronger family medicine programs. Think of Toronto Metropolitan. Scarborough's growing theirs. So York. So there are a number of and I know U of T is actually strengthening theirs. So I would say, the reality is that even as these programs get strengthened, it takes at least 6 to 7 years to start seeing the fruit of that change. So that's the environment we're in.
So University of Western Ontario is a great medical school. I mean, I went to undergraduate there. Are they developing something for Southwestern Ontario, or are we losing doctors that would go there because there is a lack of family doctors?
So I'm not sure about what university the med school at Western is doing specifically. Mainly because what the data will often show, unless those folks come from Durham, that's our success rate in luring folks from that distance is lower than it is from holding folks who have trained right here in Durham, who trained next door to Durham, if we're looking at other Queen's programs or U of T programs. And then these new programs in Toronto. So I don't have that data. We could certainly track it down if it would help.
In part of my background in sales, there's something called the puppy principle. And if you want to sell a puppy, you can try and sell a puppy. The better way to do it is to give somebody a puppy for a week, let them take it home and let them get used to the puppy, and they tend to hang on to it. So this whole piece about having residency and having experiential training right in the area is terrific, because they get used to the area and hopefully the doctor will stay. I guess what I'm looking at is, one of the things I asked for city staff to do in Oshawa when we looked at this was to develop a survey of services and see where there are gaps and where there are overlaps. Do we have such a thing because we know we have in Oshawa, do we have such a thing for the Durham region? And do we know where we have overlap and where we need to place people ideally?
So we're actually focusing on that specific work this summer with Docs for Durham, and in association with this network of physicians across Durham to map that specific discussion.
Okay. I know in Oshawa, we're going to be 35 family doctors short. So to hear you say that you're going to the UK and other areas to draw people in, especially when it says your target was to keep 1 and you've kept 5. So we're on the right track. So I guess my last one's a little lighthearted. You're looking at ways to team build and ways to provide experience like sailing and so forth. I am now a retired world-class level dragon boat racer, but every year in Port Perry, they have a Port Perry Dragon Boat Regatta, which is great for absolute beginners. It's the best team building sport in the world, and I wonder whether you might consider putting a team of family docs together and talking to Mayor Wilma Watton over there. I'm sure she'd be happy to arrange to try and get you a boat into this year's regatta.
That sounds like a great idea, and we'll bring the students.
Perfect. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Okay, just to remind everybody, it's really questions to the presentation. Councillor Wu.
Yeah, and good morning, and through the chair, and thank you very much, Dr. Stone and Sheila and Simon and your other two board of directors, Arun and Laura. Welcome. Question: you spoke about the 65,000 residents without doctors. Now, how did you calculate that number, and especially 100,000 that are sort of outside of the Durham region? Distance, I guess they would be people or residents that have moved into Durham from outside of Durham and still retain their doctor outside of Durham. But how did you get those numbers?
So two separate methodologies for the 65,000. So the province is publishing on a quarterly basis now attachment data, and we have access to that information. So I was just looking at it a few days ago because for this presentation I wanted to be updated on the numbers. And every quarter, what they do, and they have their methodology, but they publish by all the way down to sort of municipalities. But they publish this data, and it's readily available to those of us who have access to it. That's how we have the unattached number. For the numbers where we're estimating, so we now have a methodology for figuring out how many folks have physicians externally, and it has to do with an internal data process where we look at our total number of docs. We use the average number of patients that each family doc carries. So in Ontario, the average family doc will carry somewhere around 1,350 patients. And when you map the math, you'll realize that, okay, if there's only 400, now there's about 415 family docs, and that's the average, and we have 809,000 plus people here in Durham, you know that they either have no doctor or they don't, or their doctor's not here.
Right. And if I can look at Sheila, and thank you very much, because when we started this physician recruitment, it was you taking the lead and Dr. Stone with the Clarendon Board of Trade, which now is expanded to Durham region. And Dr. Stone did speak about those that are looking at retirement and leaving family practice, whether they find it maybe too onerous and getting into something specialized or just leaving it altogether. What do you figure that number is of those that may be leaving, not just Clarendon, but in Durham region, leaving family practice?
So we hope to have a deeper understanding of that number, because you have to have individual conversations with people to understand that. The data that I presented was data that a provincial organization developed. Our work here is to, by clinic, talk to people about themselves and their career trajectory. So I don't have that information, Willie, but that's something that we fully intend to understand.
Right. And again, I think some of the, let's say, conferences that we attend with the Ontario Medical Association, they're speaking, and again, they're echoing the same thing throughout Ontario about doctor shortages, the amount of family physicians leaving family practice. Now, you did mention about Ireland, UK, US, and Australia. And we were lucky enough to have a Clarendon resident that was going to trade shows in Dublin and London. Can you speak about the outcomes and any of the leads that we might have from that?
Sure. So the pipeline in Ireland, it tends to be more directed at medical students that want to come back, do their residency training here. Lots of complicated ways for me to answer that question, but we certainly have come back with a decent list of medical learners that are from the GTA, Durham, and surrounding areas. That, if they're successful in matching to a residency program, they know that Durham is here for them. As for the UK, anything in London, they tend to be more experienced physicians that either are graduating through residency training there or not happy with the way they can practice medicine within the UK. And so they're looking at coming back here. I think I mentioned I have 19 on my hot lead sheet right now that I'm currently working with, all at various stages in their path. It's a long journey. There's a lot of work to do. So, for 1 year, I think those are pretty nice numbers, so.
Well, and welcome them back, if I could say, home, but they would be considered internationally trained physicians. So what's the protocol? I think they have to go through the College of Physicians and Surgeons to be licensed. Am I right in saying that? I'm going to use the term accreditation to be able to practice here in Ontario or Canada.
You go.
For those 4 countries, if you've completed your family medicine residency training in those 4 countries, the College of Physicians and Surgeons, which is required for licensing, exempts them from any other additional training or supervision. So if you've completed your training there, you can apply directly for your license and get it.
Perfect. And the one last thing I did want to say, and certainly to Dr. Stone, which is good news, April 17th, there was a primary and urgent care announcement at 222 King, and I hope that plays into what we're talking about. Can you speak to that?
Chair, thanks for all the time.
So, Dr. Stone, I know how incredibly busy you are. So, and there are a lot of questions. What is your time that you need to be out here?
I'm happy to answer, and I want to give council time to ask all your questions. I'm just trying to be respectful of your process. Very quickly, I need to educate you on what's going on. So part of the work that's going on in Ontario is the funding model is designed around creating what we call interprofessional care teams. And it's actually a need because we aren't graduating enough doctors fast enough to fix the deficit here in Ontario. But if you build an interprofessional care team and you have those folks sort of embedded in these family medicine groups, what it enables is it enables appropriate, safe delegation from some of the work that I do to other healthcare providers that's within their scope. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. That's perfectly appropriate. But what it does is when you're able to do that, for me in my case, there's a lot of things that I do that I know can be handled very well by an appropriate clinical assistant or a nurse. It gives me capacity. So let's say, this whole process gives me 8 hours of capacity per week. The deal with the province and the reason that they're trying to solve this problem so quickly is that we do applications for teams with a commitment to attach X number of patients. So it's a quid pro quo here. And that's happening all across Ontario. Here in Durham, what we've done in the neighborhood context is there's 2 more cycles of applications, and we are organizing so that we want to invite as many of these 415 docs who aren't participating into this application and hopefully get this interprofessional care teams. What that will do is it will even strengthen the opportunity for patients to attach in an environment where the doctors are supported by teams. So I will say to you that there are different ways in which we are going to solve the problem here in Durham around attachment. One is the hard work of recruiting and retaining those trainees who are here, and like we've discussed, in those 4 countries, but also in the building of these interprofessional care teams and the applications. So we have, we're preparing for an application this fall. There are four key areas of Durham that we're concentrating on for that application, and then there's one more cycle of applications the following year. So there's a lot going on in our broad effort to, like I said at the start, make Durham the envy of Ontario in terms of our primary care infrastructure, and that really is important, but not. And we will, Docs for Durham will be connected to that process, but not specifically running it.
Okay, just want to say thank you very much.
And just for everyone's awareness, in our last cycle of applications, there were 5 applications. There were two new teams awarded, one in East Durham, one in West Durham, and then North Durham had got an expansion of their team. We want to solve that problem for all other parts of Durham that are underserved by that process.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Stone, thank you, Sheila, and thank you to the Board of Directors.
Mayor Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to see if I've got a really simplistic view of the picture here. So Durham Region had a problem, as many areas have a problem. So you went out and created a medical school with Queens in 9 months, give or take. So that's a pretty amazing feat. And then you're talking about the family healthcare team, which connects doctors to other professions as well as administrative support. You're suggesting 8 hours additional a week that you can be seeing patients as opposed to being bogged down with paperwork. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then beyond that, the students coming in, hi Mom, nurturing and supporting those students and trying to keep the students right here in Durham Region, right? And then on top of that, you are actively recruiting doctors from 4 other, not just 4 other nations, but you've targeted 4 nations, if I understand that story. And then you are actively working on talking with clinics to find out where there is capacity for people who are looking for a doctor in case there is capacity, yes? And the new the new graduates will be attached based on, I'm guessing, demographics and area where they are most needed to practice medicine. So this is being attacked by the province, by Durham Region. It's multiple directions and multiple steps that you've taken, yes?
That's a good summary, Adrian.
Okay, so you know what, you suggested that you wanted to make Durham the envy. I would suggest the work that you have done, and Sheila, you've been at this for a long time. Dr. Stone, as have you, a unique proposition many years ago that worked so exceptionally well. I would suggest that we are the envy, at least on the recruitment, and we will be based on the work that you're doing, but thank you for that. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shahid.
Thank you so much. I won't take a lot of your time. First of all, thank you so much for being here and for the commendable work and collaborating with so many things. It's just awesome to hear your story and where it's going to go. I heard from your presentation, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that there are 65,000 people in Durham Region who are in need of family doctors. Is that correct?
That is what the provincial data tells us, yes.
Thank you. And with a little bit of an immigration change by the federal government, and they're trying to slow down to catch up with everything. Do you think with the 65 and whatever is coming towards Durham Region in terms of population, how much time will it take, or how many years will it take for you to keep on with this program, or what is the longevity of this program?
So that's a great question. I think that our heaviest lift is in the next 5 years, but as this structure becomes, I'm going to say, like well organized, well connected, there will be this cycle of coming back here and talking to you about how we're progressing. You know, are we making major inroads? Are we successful? And over time, council will look at this, at how we're doing. We'll continue to describe the need here in Durham because Durham is growing so quickly. I understand we're probably going to top 1 million in a decade or so. So I don't think the need is going to go away, but I think ultimately it will be this conversation here that will decide how long this program needs to run to continue to make sure Durham has the strong system that we're trying to achieve.
Thank you, I appreciate it, and I'm really proud of this program and how fast it came through. So thank you so much, Chair Henry. That'll be all.
So that exhausts the list. Now it's my turn. So, Dr. Stone, 5 years ago, do you remember the text message you sent me in the evening about having a conversation, and you were very excited, and after about 45 minutes on the phone, you had explained everything that you were trying to do to me. I want to thank you because it was really your start, your idea to say, I've got a way to make a difference. Look what you've done. On behalf of council, I want to say thank you. I also want to say thank you because every time I call you and I text you, it's usually with a problem. And how you helped me on August 29th or 26th last year with a particularly challenging problem was simply amazing. And on behalf of that family, I just want to say thank you. Members of council, there is a video out there that talks about a country doctor in the age of corporate medicine. And I wrote you a letter a little while ago to say that you are that doctor, that your vision and leadership, not only as the leader at Lake Ridge Health for a number of years, but what you continue to do, you're Durham's country doctor.
Thank you very much, Chair Henry. It's a pleasure working with you and with this team here.
And then to Sheila, thank you. I have recognized you as the mom at work. I have had the privilege of meeting almost every one of the doctors that are in the program, and it's not easy. It's nights, weekends, you're on call all the time. For what you do, thank you. Simon, for you and your team and how you have been able to support everything that's going on, because it's not just about getting doctors, it's about making sure that their partners have jobs or opportunities. And for the work that you're doing and your team, I want to say thank you. And finally, Mayor Carter's not in the room, but to Deputy Mayor Chapman, the City of Oshawa's partnership with Queen's University, thank you, because that was a big help in getting us to where we are today and the continued support. Members of council, this is an excellent program that is going to make a difference in our region for the people that we will never meet. And on behalf of council, Dr. Stone, and to all the doctors that you have recruited, because you recruited doctors to help you support these doctors, on behalf of us, I want to say thank you. Members of council, we don't normally do this, but you know, let's give the opportunity. Now, Dr. Stone and Sheila, you're welcome to stay. But I know that you have much more pressing things to do. And again, thank you for what you do each and every day to make Durham one of the most amazing places in Canada to live.
Thank you very much.
So, members of council, some of us have been here for a while. For the members that were in the room for the meeting for Durham OneNet, does anyone need a break? No? 10. Okay, members of council, I'm looking for a 10-minute recess, moved by Mayor Foster, seconded by Mayor Wadden, that we will recess for 10 minutes. We'll be back. So in 10, we'll call the vote. 10-minute recess. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, we are in recess, Madam Clerk, for 10 minutes.
Counselor McDougall?
Okay, we have quorum. We'll move on to our second presentation of the day, item 4.2, Leslie Ann Folds, Director of Strategic Initiatives, and Andrea Smith, Manager of Corporate Initiatives, on our Strategy and Performance Strategic Plan Update 2025. When you're ready, please start. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was told this and I forgot. I would like to have our CAO, Wayne Baxter Traher, introduce the team.
Thank you, Chair Henry and members of council. Today, I am pleased to introduce the Strategic Initiatives team who will provide an update on Durham Region's strategic plan. The update offers a high-level view of how we are advancing the strategic directions and pathways outlined in our 10-year plan. More detailed information on programs and service level information will continue to come forward through the appropriate standing committee as part of our regular reporting process. And with that, I will turn it over to Leslie Ann Folds, the Director of Strategic Initiatives, to walk us through today's presentation. Over to you, Leslie Ann.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Chair Henry, committee, and members of the community. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. My name, as was mentioned, is Leslie Ann Folds. I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives, and today I have with me my colleague, Andrea Smith, as the Manager of Corporate Initiatives. Our presentation today is intended to provide you with an update of the 2025 to 2028 action plan with a specific focus on 2025 year-end results and an update on the community dashboard. So together, these two pieces highlight our progress as a region towards the vision and strategic directions that are outlined in the 10-year regional strategic plan. For context, this regional council supported the development and subsequent endorsement of the Durham Region 2025 to 2035 strategic plan in January of 2025. It is a community-informed plan. It acts as a compass to advance the work of both council and staff, and it highlights the vision of connected, caring, and welcoming communities that respect the natural environment and create prosperity for all. In short, connected communities connected to you. The plan contains 5 strategic directions and 29 pathways that move us in the direction of that community vision. Underpinning those strategic directions is an internal supporting foundation for the region of people, processes, and technology. In January 2025, along with the endorsement of the plan, this council directed us to develop community indicators that would demonstrate progress over the duration of the plan, develop the first supporting implementation plan, which we are reporting on today, that's the action plan, which outlines key initiatives and related corporate performance measures that advance the directions and pathways, and to align all this process with the annual business planning and budget. So the 2025 to 2028 action plan was shared with council last June alongside the budget guideline. This is a plan that is more focused on initiatives owned by the region, and it offers that accompanying strategic narrative and aligns to the business planning and budget documents by providing those coherent sets of actions that are related directly to the plan. It shares focus areas for each of the strategic directions and supporting foundation for the years 2025 to 2028. It also highlights those key actions, the projects, and the desired results that show a linkage to those big picture community indicators. So today we're sharing the results of the first year of implementation of the action plan. In 2025, the region of Durham was able to advance 99% of the planned initiatives for 2025. The composition of that number, 69% of the key action milestones were completed as planned within year. Meaningful progress was made on 30% of those key action milestones, and 1% of those milestones were deferred. We encourage you to take a look at the report, and when the appendix includes the key action highlights from 2025, and they're included in there as an attachment. So I will now turn it over to Andrea Smith, to provide an update on the strategic plan community indicators.
Thank you, Leslie, and good morning. So for context, the community indicators are broad measures that show how well Durham Region is progressing towards the vision and strategic directions identified in the strategic plan. They represent trends and/or issues in the wider population of Durham Region. The Region of Durham will contribute to the community effort in moving the indicator trends in the desired direction, but we are not solely responsible for the outcomes. There are a total of 20 community indicators on the dashboard. And the community dashboard has been updated with the most recent data available. And you can access the dashboard by visiting durham.ca/stratplan dashboard. Each indicator on the community dashboard contains details, including a description of the indicator and why it's important, the desired trend direction if we want it to be increasing or decreasing, an explanation of how this indicator is calculated, including data notes, data sources, and limitations, the current available data, the trend status on how it's performing, if it's improving, not improving, or stable, and references and other additional resources for those who might be interested in learning more. The next few slides, we will provide a high-level summary of the community indicators within each of the strategic directions and how they are trending. For those indicators with a green check mark, this indicates that the indicator is moving in the desired direction and is improving. For those with the horizontal arrow, this indicates that the indicator is stable in comparison to the previous update. The orange exclamation mark indicates that that indicator is not moving in the desired direction and is not improving in comparison to the last update. We encourage members of council and the community to visit the community dashboard for all the details of each of the indicators. So we'll start by looking at connected and vibrant communities. So from the strategic plan, this strategic direction is about creating connected and vibrant communities that take a proactive and responsible approach to growth and infrastructure. The physical spaces around us will be more connected and safe to make people's days in Durham Region better. Durham Region will be more inclusive and welcoming with an opportunity for all to find connection and community. The Connected and Vibrant Communities contains 5 community indicators. Access to broadband, housing affordability, and Vision Zero are all improving and moving in the desired direction. Access to public transit is stable. Transportation mode share is not improving since the last update. The Region of Durham is doing our part to advance these community indicators. For example, in 2025, we advanced major projects such as the expansion of the regional broadband network, the rent supplements and housing benefit program, and Durham Region transit service enhancements. Additional highlights can be found in the attachment of your report. Moving over to environmental sustainability and climate action. This strategic direction is about recognizing the unique natural environment in Durham Region and continuing to respect green spaces, waterways, and agricultural lands. Together, we will transition to low-carbon solutions, sustainable living practices, and make the necessary adaptations to withstand the impacts of severe weather. This strategic direction, there are 2 community indicators aiming to reduce the carbon footprint and waste generation rate. Durham Region's carbon footprint is not improving since the last update, and the waste generation rate is moving in the desired direction and improving. The Region of Durham will continue to do our part in improving these indicators. In 2025, we advanced major projects such as the Green Bin program expansion, the corporate decarbonization strategy, and Durham Greener Homes. Moving to healthy people, caring communities. In this strategic direction, Durham Region offers programs and services that meet the needs of the growing and changing communities across the region. We will continue to promote health and well-being and are committed to caring for those who are most in need. We will strive to improve the quality of life for all residents in the region. In this strategic direction, there are 6 community indicators. Children's early development is improving since the last update. Self-rated general health, mental health, and household food insecurity are stable since the last update. Childhood vaccination rates and people experiencing chronic homelessness are not improving and are not moving in the desired direction. The Region of Durham continues to do our part to improving these indicators. In 2025, we advanced major projects such as the Community Safety and Wellbeing Partner Education and Training Series. We collaborated with school boards and community partners to promote mental health literacy. We delivered dental care services in the regional childcare centres, as well as the Ontario Senior Dental Care Program. Post-COVID, all health units in Ontario are doing catch-up work for both administering the vaccination and also getting updated vaccination records from parents. The data for this indicator is showing the 2024 to 2025 completed school year. The health department last week presented updated vaccination data so far from the 2025 to 2026 school year, and we will see an improvement in our next update. We are actively working to reduce the number of people experiencing chronic homelessness. In 2025, the Region of Durham supported over 800 people through the Housing Stability Program. Again, additional highlights can be found in the attachment of your report. Moving into resilient local economies. Under this strategic direction, Durham Region will be a place of opportunity where people can gain new skills, grow, and prosper. We will continue to support current industries, including agriculture, and develop emerging economic sectors. Local business growth and tourism will continue to create a vibrant economy, highlighting the distinct cultural identities across the region. There are 5 community indicators in the Resilient Local Economy Strategic Direction. All are trending in the desired direction and improving since the last update. The Region of Durham continues to do our part to improving these indicators. In 2025, we advanced major projects such as the Durham Local Immigration Partnership Employer Engagement Strategy for Immigrants and Newcomers. We published and distributed Durham Region's Discovery Guide and developed the Investment Attraction Plan. The last strategic direction is strong relationships. Under this strategic direction, in Durham Region, people will feel engaged and involved in their communities. Through open collaboration, dialogue, and partnerships, we will build trust and work to advance the community vision for the future of Durham Region. There are 2 community indicators within this strategic direction. Sense of belonging to the local community is showing as stable in comparison to the last update. The strategic plan performance, this icon indicates that the trend is unavailable, as this is the first time that we have reported on this indicator. The Region of Durham continues to do our part to contribute to improving these indicators. In 2025, we advanced major projects such as the Queen's Parks Advocacy Day, Durham Region's 311, and the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation bilateral agreement. Additional highlights for all of the strategic directions can be found in the attachment. Together, the action plan completion and the community indicators provide a big picture view of the effectiveness of our regional services through a community lens. Staff will continue to update council and the community members on overall progress through the community dashboard, as well as the status of the 2025 to 2028 action plan. Additional details and all of the information we share today is available on our website at durham.ca/stratplan. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. We do have some questions. Mayor Foster?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And for the presentation, thank you, and the dashboard, all of the things that you are doing to try to highlight what we are doing. Have we looked at ways of getting what is essentially, and for most areas, a good news story out to residents? So my sense is we have these, the numbers, the charts, the statistics, and I've got to admit I go to the dashboard when a report comes and says, hey, go to the dashboard. Otherwise, I do not. But are we bringing tangible examples? Because I would suggest if you and I know your stats say differently, if you pulled someone off the street, they might have a different take on this.
Okay. Through the chair, thank you for the question. I may turn it over to our Executive Director of Communications and Engagement to speak a bit about how we work together on sharing these good news stories.
Thanks, Leslie. Through the chair, Mayor Foster, it's a great question, and I would say it's something that we talk about all of the time. How do we get these good news stories out? We have a variety of channels, and the one maybe I'd like to highlight to you is the new This Week in Durham stories. And so all members of council should receive an email on Tuesday afternoons when this new website is published. And that's been one way. What we found was there was a gap, but how do we get these good stories? We have newsletters that go out and they're short and concise. We do pitch to media, we put them on our social channels, but what is our platform for telling a more fulsome story about some of the achievements that have come out of the regional plan, of the strategic plan? And so we've launched This Week in Durham stories, and that's one of those sources. They also go to media each week as an opportunity to make sure that they are spread throughout the community. If there's other ways, we encourage you to include these in your newsletters, that you reach your specific audience. But if there's other ways to help spread that word even further, we're always open to new ideas. But that's one I just wanted to highlight that we've started specifically to answer the question that you've asked.
Perfect, thank you. And I guess two items. Let us, if we are not doing so with communications at Clarington, poke me and we will. Do you have any sense of the reach that you're getting to numbers of people? And I know that's really tough to, really tough to measure.
So we have those metrics. I don't have them off the top of my head. We certainly have those metrics for our social campaigns. We also do look at open rates and readership and reach for those stories. I just would have to come back to you, I think, and get you that information offline, and I'm happy to do so and get that to you in a follow-up email.
Sort of discrete information to have. Secondly, we did, prior to the budget, there was a huge amount of interaction with individuals. Mr. Chair, by the way, if you go on to AI and look at the interaction and the feedback that we got from residents of Durham and said, what did the budget address their concerns? AI will tell you that, why, yes, it did. That was a really interesting exercise. I'll leave that with you. But we got, I'm going to suggest, would be really practical feedback on a budget process. Do we compare that, or have we compared that with a strat plan? So we do a strat plan a number of years ago, and we've got a point in time. Again, it was thousands, 14,000 sticks in my mind. 14,000 people responded on the budget with priorities on that. Do we compare one to the other?
Yeah, through the chair again, thank you for the question. We work very closely with the budget team, and annually we have a rigorous process to identify the milestones and the key actions. So yes, there's good alignment there, and we look forward to enhancing that.
Okay, so we ask people, we build a plan, and then the budget is aligned with the plan, and then on this budget I'm hearing the concerns that those 14,000 residents brought forward were in fact addressed and brought into this.
Yeah, through the chair again, the action plan itself contains the major projects that have been approved or endorsed through council, and each year we're looking at those key actions and priorities, and we align those to what is approved in the budget.
So I would suggest that that is a fantastic story all on its own, that when people give us the opinion, we in fact are listening and acting on it. Thank you. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shahid.
Thank you so much. Through you, Chair. I love the presentation. It was very, very informative. I have a question regarding sense of belonging. And you talked about the Queen's Park advocacy in the sense of belonging tier, and then 311, and the last one I couldn't catch fast in writing, and I apologize for that. What my question on this is that how are you checking the parameters of sense of belonging? So let's say if somebody moved here a few years ago, how is their sense of belonging and where are they sitting at? So I can just speak on one point, is that every year Town of Whitby does a survey of how you feel about your town. So is there a survey out there for Durham Region residents and so on?
Yes, there is, through the chair. Thank you for the question. Again, on the dashboard itself, there is a number of details in there around how the data is collected and how frequently. I will let my colleagues speak to the details of it, but this is a survey that's administered and supported through our health department.
Thank you, Leslie. So just additional information. So this indicator measures the percentage of adults aged 18 years or older who rate their sense of belonging in the community as somewhat strong or very strong. So on the dashboard, you will see that in 2025, 77% of adults rated their sense of belonging as somewhat strong or very strong, and this is consistent with similar results from the previous years.
Thank you so much. Through you, Chair Henry. It was the mayor yesterday who talked about the dashboard, and I know the conversations we've had about the dashboard on this at this table several times. So is it okay if I have a sidebar with you and talk more about the dashboard? Because I'm really interested as to how we can use that in order to spread the good news among our residents. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chair Henry.
Thank you. Councillor Garrett?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the presentation and the format that you did it, the way you moved it along really quickly. I appreciated that. When I look at the indicators where you had the check mark and the horizontal arrow and so on, you gave a very brief comment on each one. And then just while I was waiting to speak, I looked at the Durham.ca link to it. Is there a place, and maybe it's there and I just didn't find it yet, where if I just look at access to public and it's a horizontal line, and then you had a quick narrative in some cases of why it is what it is, or why it's a check mark, or why it's got an exclamation mark. Is that on the website somewhere where you can boil it down to 2 or 3 sentences rather?
Through the chair, thank you for the question. On the community dashboard website itself, there's a number of details in there for each indicator, including the definition, how it's calculated, and the contributing factors.
I saw that. What I was looking for is if it's got a check mark, it's a good news story. Is there a sentence there that I could use? Or if it's got an exclamation mark like transportation mode share, where there's some concern, is there a short description there that I could say, this is what we're looking at?
Through the chair, we can follow up on that to put those notes together. There's no sort of single line available if you're looking for like a 1 sentence or 2.
So could it be added to the website?
We certainly can.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McDougall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just for my fellow councillor across the way, it's because he won't ride his bike from Uxbridge, unlike me from Port Perry. Sorry, just kidding. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Something jumps out at me in terms of the presentation and the data that's there. It says that real median income is checked mark as a plus and going in the right direction. Is that measured after everything is purchased in terms of your vehicle, your fuel, your insurances, your cost of living increases in terms of the commoditization of food, etc.? Through Mr. Chair.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. The number is it's a before tax measure on the household income.
So that's before tax?
Yep.
So
it's
before income tax?
Yes, that's correct.
Federal, provincial, before tax in terms of our local taxes, like residential, municipal?
Yeah, it's the median real before tax income of households within Durham Region, and it's compared to the province of Ontario.
Okay, thank you, because that answers my question, because I have a feeling if you were to do a survey of residents, that's probably not what they would suggest. Here, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. That exhausts all the questions, so thank you for the excellent presentation.
Thank you for the time.
Mayor Ash, would you like to move all of the correspondence as directed? Okay, seconded by Mayor Barton. So members of council, we're moving 6.1 to 6.5 as directed. Are there any polls? Mayor Foster?
Thank you. 6.1, I've got a really simple suggestion. And if it's amenable with the mover, I would like to receive that with thanks.
Mayor Ash, take that as a friendly, receive with thanks. Madam Clerk, that's okay. Okay, so we're moving all the items that are correspondence. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, that carries. That moves us on to reports. We'll deal with the reports one at a time. The first report is 7.1, Cow 31, recommendation for eligible projects under the at-home incentive program for affordable housing. Moved by, thank you, Councillor Chapman, seconded by Councillor Pettengill. The item is now on the floor. Questions? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in, record a vote by Councillor Kerr. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The recorded vote for Cal 31 is now open. Looking for Councillor Wu and Councillor Brenner online. Second call for Councillor Brenner.
Okay, that carries unanimously. We'll move on to 7.2, the Durham Strategic Plan. The recommendation is that this report be received for information and then a copy of this report be forwarded to the local municipalities within Durham Region. I got a mover, Councillor Crawford, seconded by Councillor Shahid. The report's on the floor. Questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, none online? That carries. We'll move on to item 3. Just give me 1 second. So item 3, Cal 33, the third municipal infrastructure agreement with Metrolinx for GO Lakeshore East extension of the GO Rail service to Bowmanville. Mayor Carter as the mayor and Mayor Foster as the mayor. The item is now on the floor. Councillor Nicholson? Councillor Nicholson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Councillor Nicholson, you've dropped. Can you hit your button again, please? Councillor Nicholson, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I just want to request a recorded vote on this item. And while though I do not object to the content of the motion, I'm going to vote against it simply to register a protest to the lack of communication and cooperation from Metrolinx to the City of Oshawa and specifically in Ward 5. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other requests to speak, Madam Clerk, record a vote called by Councillor Nicholson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Recorded vote on 2026 Cal 33 starting now. Looking for Councillor Brenner online. A second call for Councillor Brenner online.
Okay, that carries. Members of council, Cal 34, an authorization to enter into an agreement with Tribute Turcotte Brookhill 1 Inc. for construction of a sublink sanitary sewer in on Bowmanville Avenue from Stevenson's Road to Nash Road. Mayor Foster, did you want to move that? Councillor Wu, would you like to second that? Members of council, the report's now on the floor. Questions? Okay, none online. Then we'll call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, that carries. We'll move on to report Cal 35, sponsorship and advertising opportunities, valuation approach, and delivery model considerations. Can I get a mover? Moved by Mayor Foster, seconded by Councillor Kerr. The item's on the floor. Questions? Seeing none, and none online, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, that carries. We'll move on to item 7.6. Just give me 1 second, please. Okay. 7.6 is the Canadian Association of Nuclear Host Communities submission to the federal discussion paper on the proposed legislative, regulatory, and policy reforms for major projects. Mayor Foster, and I'm looking for a seconder, Councillor Mayor Pietri. So the item is now on the floor. Speakers. Councillor Mayor Pietri.
Chair, I do understand that historically the host communities have included Pickering and Clarington, but with the headquarters being in Oshawa for Ontario Power Generation, just wondering how we can avail to the process through the region to have Oshawa included as part of this discussion, because it does seem you would never have an auto industry without the headquarters being a part of the conversation. If Detroit is the headquarters for the auto industry, you would include the other communities, but you would obviously include the headquarters. So I'm just wondering if we can keep that top of mind and see how we can work through the channels to include Oshawa as part of that conversation in this discussion.
Okay, so Mayor Foster, I'm going to have you answer that question as your other job of many as the chair of CANAC.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So while not directly pertinent to this report, Oshawa already is, by virtue of the fact that Durham Region is a host community.
No, that's different.
So
that's a bit different, respectively.
I beg to differ.
Well.
So the rationale.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I've got the floor, correct?
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So in the very near future, by virtue of the work that Ontario Tech is doing, you will have a licensed facility in Durham Region. Members of CANAC have direct members, have licensed facilities. When that happens, you can directly join CANAC. The issue that CANAC has, if we don't put boundaries around the membership, we will end up with possibly 444 municipalities across the nation. So those are CANAC's rules. Councillor, you are welcome to show up at CNA, as do, I would suggest, with Bruce, and we have a number of folks that do from Durham Region, but participating through Durham Region, your voice will absolutely be heard. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Appreciate the perspective from the Mayor Clarington. I would certainly assess Oshawa's position a little differently than others who may participate in components that relate to the industry. The headquarters for the largest energy industry in all of Canada is in Oshawa. So I would think that would be a different conversation. I appreciate the ability to be able to attend the meeting. Thank you for the open invitation. I will hope that the region, in collaboration with the City of Oshawa, pursue the opportunity that transcends, Ontario Tech's play, for the simple reason that I do think that the headquarters city for Ontario Power Generation must be included, not should be included. So I'll just leave that out there. And then thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to speak to that.
So Mayor Foster, if you received a formal letter from the mayor of Oshawa, that would raise a conversation at CANAC?
It would be a vote by the members of CANAC. I can suggest that in the past, we have had requests from municipalities, lower tier municipalities from regions, and for a variety of reasons, the votes have not been supported. Again, you will have an opportunity when the university has a licensed reactor, which is coming soon. By virtue of that, yes. If we were looking at headquarters of significant energy, the opening the door, the potential would be huge. We are focused on nuclear host communities and communities that have licensed facilities. That is the focus of the organization. Mayor Ash and yourself, Regional Chair, you've been at some of those meetings where we've had other lower tier municipalities, and the decision of the membership, not my decision, the decision of the membership has been to make sure that, that we keep focused on what we need to be focused on.
Yeah, and I'd just say, not to get into cross debate, I respect previous policies. I do think that they need to evolve. I don't think there's any larger headquarters, unless I'm missing it, for Ontario Power Generation.
So, Councillor, it's not about headquarters.
Okay.
So that's just my perspective, and I hope that we can pursue that. So I thank you very much for the opportunity.
By default, as the only elected individual in all 8 municipalities, I do represent all 8 municipalities when I attend CANAC meetings,
Well,
so. But I understand what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, that carries. Members of council, just give me a second here. Okay, we'll move on to Cal 37 At Home in Durham 10-year housing and homelessness plan. Can I get somebody to move the recommendation, please? Moved by Mayor Foster, seconded by Mayor Carter. The item is now on the floor. Mayor Foster? Push
Mr.
again,
Chair,
Mayor.
thank you, and I know that there isn't a good answer to this, so the report, great. We are taking as many steps and making as much progress as we can on this, but repeatedly, we are hearing that the system is broken. So despite our efforts, despite doing better than we have ever done in the past, we continue to fall further and further behind. I suppose the question is, when do we start addressing those things that are not allowing us to move forward? If I look at Quebec, and a side effect of Quebec is they've got some of the highest taxes in Canada, but there are other jurisdictions that are, how do I put it appropriately, that are seeing far less in the way of the numbers of homeless. So I don't want to demean the work that we are doing, but we cannot solve this. And we are seeing the numbers get worse and worse and worse. No matter how hard and how fast we run, we are never going to get to where we want to get. So at what point, whether it's the province, the federal government, do we start having a meaningful discussion on changing the structure that we're stuck with?
Well, I'll start to answer that. As you're aware, we have tried for almost my entire term in this chair to get the federal and provincial governments to call a national meeting on homelessness. And I don't believe that we can address the problems as municipalities. In fact, the problem is so big, I think it's going to bankrupt some municipalities. So until we can sit down with the federal government and the provincial government at the same table, bringing ideas from across this country to the table, similar to what they've done with auto theft, I don't think there is a way that we're going to solve this. But I'll go to the commissioner and ask if she has anything to add.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. You're absolutely right, Chair Henry. This is a federal and provincial issue. There is the new national housing strategy that is forthcoming. That is an opportunity to bring forth these issues, but they're much more global than that. As you know, the cost of living and other things that are impacting people in our community, breaking up families, people are losing their homes. Whether they own a home or are renting, people are still losing their homes and finding themselves homeless. So it is a much larger issue and does require a big table, you're absolutely right, for advocacy purposes and action.
But Mayor Foster, you chair a Durham Region Not-for-Profit Housing Corporation, and Councillor Dyes and a number of us are on the board. You had a great announcement last week about adding additional housing. The mayor was there, Councillor Chapman was there, Councillor Mayor Petru was there. Did you want to just announce how many additional beds that were added last week?
Well, I was worried you were going to ask for a specific number because that was on Friday, and those numbers are already gone.
Well, how about we just say 70 units?
Yeah, 70 70 sort of.
Yeah.
So 70 now, but if you look at this report and you look at what Durham Region Nonprofit Housing Corp has done over the last couple of years, there have been significant number of units, more units. We are, as is Durham Region, only constrained by the capital that we can get to bring projects to market. So the nonprofit housing corp, if we can access more capital, we will build more. No ifs or ands or buts on that. But this comes to my frustration, and I'm tired of saying here that the system is broken. So many systems are broken that despite the excellent work that is happening at the nonprofit, despite the excellent work that is happening here and with other partners, we don't seem to be making a dent in the issue. And at some point in time, I guess, when do you step off the hamster wheel? Take a look around and figure out what it is that we need to do to fundamentally address, and it's nationwide, but frustrating. Mr. Chair, for the therapy, I thank you.
Mayor Carter?
So good morning, Mr. Chair, and thank you to Mayor Foster for your comments. There's a couple things I'd like to address. One is thank you for the report. I think the report was quite in-depth. That's number one. Number two is on Thursday and Friday, many of us will be at OBCM in Waterloo, and a big part of our conversation will be about homelessness, addiction, and mental health. And I believe that the caucus has finally got to a place where I believe that we will take a firm stance in regards to what's necessary. I'm going to disagree a little bit with Mayor Foster, and I'll tell you why. Is because the recognition by our housing department and our team through social services understands the complexities of what we're facing. And I'm speaking as the mayor of a city that has the largest impact in regards to identified individuals that are suffering through this crisis. But the work that is being done in regards to us actually creating a Durham framework, I'm proud of. And part of it is in this report in regards to understanding that it's not just about putting people in homes, it's about creating the services that are necessary 24 hours a day to wrap around those individuals. And Durham Region has taken a very strong position that we understand about building the units, but it's about building the right units with the right supports. And I think we've been firm in regards to what our commitment is in regards to creating that model. This body has also taken under consideration the complexities of both mental illness and addiction, and has supported the efforts in regards to us coming up with a unique Durham approach. And one of those approaches, of course, and I know that Mayor Roy will be speaking about it at AMO, that I hope I'll get invited to that meeting, is about our emergency proposal at Lake Ridge, where we'll have the mental health and addiction emergency ward. Why is that important? Because we know that if we get people into the right care at the right time, and now with the MOU with Ontario Shores and with CAMH, we understand that we have the other components that Durham has been supportive of, which is that we can get them into withdrawal management, and especially with the toxicity of the type of drugs that are out there today, having those resources available play an important role. And so having the proper entry point and then also having the supported services behind it play a significant role. I also understand that we can't do it ourselves, but I am proud to be able to say, as frustrated as I get, and as all of us get, that Durham is looking at being realistic in regards to what are the investments that are necessary and what are the frameworks that are necessary. I think too many times we skip from homelessness to housing immediately and not think about who is prepared to be able to be housed. What are the complexities behind their illness? And how are we going to support them through that period of time? We will find success in a lot of different ways. We can't just do one aspect. It can't be either or, it's got to be all. And the reality being is, I've got to a point where I understand that we need partners both at the provincial and federal government, but the reality being is if they're not there, it's up to this body, and we're going to have to do those works. And I know that myself and many of the mayors that are in this room have allocated local funds to be able to address the complexities of this illness. I believe that this is the most wicked healthcare crisis that this country has ever faced. And to be absolutely honest, I have more confidence in leaning on people like Stella or Aaron to be able to sit down and their teams to be able to actually say, this is where we need to be. And this is what we need to do. As a local government, this is what we need to do. And we have to be able to demonstrate that. So as much as I appreciate the comments by Mayor Foster, I need to be optimistic, and I know that you're an optimistic leader, and I know that your heart is there. I also understand your frustration with the partnerships that are difficult to be able to understand what we're trying to accomplish. But I do lean on the two shovels that here at Durham Region, that we have the departments, we have the leaders that I think can be part of the solution. And I think that we understand clearly that it's not just about building homes. It really is about building an environment where people can actually be able to succeed. Councillor Chapman and myself were fortunate enough, and I know my time is running out, to be part of Durham Regional Nonprofit Housing. And one of the things that we always focused on was not just housing people, but lifting people and making sure the next generation wasn't dependent upon our housing department to house them. We always looked at it as how do we make sure the next generation has different options so that they can succeed. And so I want us to stay optimistic. I want us to continue to be frustrated, but I also want us to realize that our team does recognize these key components that are important that we take into consideration when we're doing this. So not to be confrontational, but just to be able to put that point. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to speak up.
Councillor Chapman, not to put you on the spot, but you have done a great job as chair of the Local Housing Corporation. Did you want to mention some of the ongoing things that are happening right now, or would you like to defer to staff?
Well, it's easy to be the chair of a committee when you have a great team, both the other members of the committee as well as the staff team behind it. Are you talking about the developments that are going on? One of them's in here coming up, Christine Crescent, which is going to be marvelous, and we're doing the mixed income communities, which is, we have the people on RGI, the people on what we call market value, but really it's a little less than market value. We're also doing the one on, is it Center Street in Whitby that is being moved along and moving along. The other one is that we're in the planning stages. It just, it has to be approved at Oshawa Council, which I don't think will be a problem for Malaga Road for what we're going to do there. We still have some tenants there that we will relocate to suitable places, and then we'll tear that down and is 65 units that will turn into eventually a few years down the road over 400 units, again mixed income. So as I say, it's easy to be chair of a committee where the other members see the same vision as moving it forward, but in particular the staff that are assigned to Durham Regional Local Housing Durham, they make that vision come true and pushing it in and out in different ways to move things as fast as possible. Unfortunately, because of some of the funding issues from above, meaning province and federal government and CMHC and the changes in the Build Canada stuff and all that, we haven't moved as fast as we would like to. But I'm very confident that in the next couple of years we'll have a great more number of affordable housing and mixed housing in at least one in Whitby and two in Oshawa that will make a big difference, I hope.
And to our CAO, the staff team worked really hard under your leadership to get the money from the federal government. Will the 120 beds at 1635 be finished this year?
No, I believe they'll be finished next year, Mr. Chair. We're doing it in 2 phases.
And back to you, Mayor Carter. Members of council, you probably realize that as a chair, I'm probably damaged goods to the organization from my comments that I've recently made related to elections. I want you to know, as much as I'd love to be there at AMO with you, if I go to AMO, I believe, and I've talked to our CAO and to Allison as well, I don't think you would get any meetings with ministers. So there'll be a letter coming out from me, or an invitation from my office, to have the mayors of the region of Durham represent the region in all the meetings that they would get and should get. If I'm there, I don't believe that would happen, so I will not be attending AMO in the best interests of the region. So I just want you to know that. It's a shame that that's happening, but I understand that through conversations that I can't believe this. I know I'm loved in this room, but I don't think I'm liked very much at the province at this time, so I won't be going. So on Cal 37, I'm just going to call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none? Sorry, I missed you, Councillor Kerr. Okay, we'll move on to Cal 39, and it is the financial impact of an award of tender for automated cart-based waste collection in the municipality of Clarington and the townships of Brock. Mayor Jubb, would you like to move that? Mayor Foster, would you like to second that? Okay, the item is now on the floor. We'll go to Councillor Crawford first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my question is, we've had a pilot in Ajax for a couple years now, correct? Is that rolling out also in Ajax? I read the report, but I was just trying to understand if that was happening.
Ian, are you able to, or Ramesh, please?
Through the chair, if I may refer to Andrew Evans, please. Thank you.
Yeah, so through the chair, so the contract renewal for Ajax Pickering comes up next in 2030. So
Okay.
the move to that in those areas would be presumably at that time.
So this is for Uxbridge, Brock, and Clarington?
As
Is that
well as
right? And
Scugog.
Scugog for 2028?
Correct.
And then 2030, it'll roll out to Ajax Pickering?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mayor Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, through you to staff and Commissioner, I know you dealt with this the other day at Clarington Council. We continue to have some concerns over the bins, the size of bins, particularly where you've got stacked townhouses, row housing. We've seen challenges in a number of municipalities, Brampton being one, where Brampton's got some interesting fees that they've put in place, or fines, I should say. There's going to be one bin, a large bin, no opportunity to have a smaller bin. I'm just curious as to how, maybe I'm wrong. So educate me, please.
So through the chair, we are looking at two sizes of bins, a larger 360 liter and a smaller 240 liter at this time. We're also, in speaking with kind of the challenges around some of these developments, including the downtown business areas, we will be working to to ensure that where we're transitioning, it makes sense. So we may see some pockets, I think probably safest in the downtown cores, where we may stick with a semi-automated, or may have pockets even remaining on a manual type collection.
So the pockets are noted, and I appreciate that in the report. And I understand downtowns and specific areas, but as we are seeing high density housing throughout municipalities, I think the reality is where you've even got higher density, you're not going to have one truck go by and pick up 80% of the bins and a second one. And I guess I'm just concerned when we look at I'm going to call it bin clutter, for lack of a better word, that we're focused on that and have a solution for, again, some of the row housing, the townhouses. There is no access to a side yard or a backyard. What the plans are to deal with that?
So through the chair, we'll be working with the developers as part of the development review process to ensure that there's, where you're looking at other, the newer builds especially.
So we'll chat some more, and I appreciate developers, and that's in the report as well. So the issue would be for the existing housing stock, that were not built with this. What the potential may be. The two bin sizes, thank you, that's helpful, I appreciate it. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Penton-Gill.
Thank you very much, and through the chair. Yeah, also, I am concerned about the bin litter, and I didn't quite hear you when you talked about the two different sizes. I think you said 160 liters and something else. What was that, please?
Through the chair, 360 liters and 240 liters.
240. Yeah, I would like to, I see that this is 2028, but I would encourage and appreciate a much closer relationship as we get closer to this goal of 2028. Has it been determined that in rural areas, for instance, and I think you did say something about in some places manual collection, whether or not, whether there will be options on manual versus automated?
So through the chair, one of our pilot areas was in rural Scugog to focus on that rural area, and the bins were overall successful there. There's also a number of our comparator municipalities, so County of Simcoe and formerly the Blue Water Recycling Agency area in southwestern Ontario, were some of the other adopters of automated carts, and they do work well in the rural setting as well.
Oh, you're saying the automated carts work well in the rural setting. In Scugog, they did?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, yes, and also the cost of this, 66% annual increase in collection costs is of a great concern as well.
So certainly, so the last time this contract was tendered was in 2019. The collection contracts are about a 7-year term, which is roughly the life of the truck. So we were in a vastly different world in 2019. So when we look at the contributor costs, even through our own fleets, the cost of a truck is up about 100% since that time. And given labor issues in that sector, we've seen labor rates in the sector go up around 50%. So these are the type of costs that are feeding into it. And speaking with the industry, looking at what would the alternative if we had remained on a manual type collection everywhere, we probably would have been getting closer to a 90 or 100% increase contract over contract.
Okay, I see. Ultimately, do you imagine that each householder would have the choice between a large and a small collection bin?
Correct. Yes, they would. As part of the rollout, there'll be more communications, but they'll have. Will be likely to defaulting to one side, and they'll have the opportunity to request the other size.
Okay, and just one more philosophical question with regards to waste reduction and recycling and so on. How does the putting of everything in one bin kind of merge with the consumer's understanding of waste management?
Sorry, just for confirmation, so there'll be each household will be getting 2 bins. So it'll be a green bin and a garbage bin, and then they'll continue to have the recycling program. So in terms of the disposal streams that are available to the residents, there's no change in service level.
Okay, so they'll just have to have 2 much larger bins than what they have presently.
Correct. In terms of the organics carts, they won't be the full size. There's a slightly smaller size, but it will be bigger than the existing bin. The existing bins aren't compatible with the collection arms on the trucks needed for the waste size.
I'm not just concerned with rural. We have many subdivisions where the houses are all attached, and so this issue of space is really, really important, and I'm not sure how it's going to be resolved.
Certainly, if I may, I think more than 50% of the province is on automated type collection systems now. More and more municipalities are adopting this, and so there are often there is some initial concern from residents, but they quickly, in general, the feedback's been very positive once the change has been made. Part of the thing is, if you're storing even a couple garbage bags in your garage between collection weeks, the footprint of the cart is about the same as that. So I think there's a bit of a concern with the overall size, but once residents get used to it and adopt to it, they're quite happy with the programs.
Okay, it's great to hear that feedback. Thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Pickles. Councillor Pickles?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good, thank you. Yeah, where I've seen these programs rolled out in other areas, the organic bin is smaller than the garbage bin, and the recycle bin is at least the same size as the garbage bin, or maybe a little bit larger. Where I've seen people struggle, and I know members of committee have raised some other concerns, but when you have one large bin with small wheels, it's very hard to sort of roll it out to the curb through the snow and slush and ice, and that's where I've seen seniors or others struggle. my question, and it's maybe not related directly to what we have in front of us, but with the automated carts, do you see the recycling or the blue bins going the same way, or are we going to have a situation where we have automated carts for organics and garbage, but still the blue bin boxes as opposed to the cart for the blue bin? Because I certainly think the blue bin cart helps address issues of litter and blowing and not having lids on them. So, Mr. Chair, I know it's not directly related because we're not in charge of that program any further, but I wonder if staff can speak to that, whether they have any insight on that. Thank you.
So through the chair, all those you mentioned were not directly responsible. What we have heard from the producers is the producer responsible programs have rolled out is similar cost concerns and similar challenges. And so through kind of the industry, we've seen them move to a cart system in a number of areas. So I would expect that at some point, whether or not we move forward, whether we adopted automated carts or not, you may see a recycling type system move to carts. So I think probably carts would be coming on recycling, but again, that's not our call to make.
Councillor Kennedy?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Barton?
Hey, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. I spoke to Andrew last night on these issues just to go through it, but I lost a friend from high school driving a recycling truck. From a safety perspective, can you just talk a little bit about why this is safer for the drivers?
So certainly through the chair, one of the driving factors is driver safety. So with the manual collection trucks, the drivers typically, especially in rural areas, are standing on a right-hand side drive truck. If they hit a soft shoulder, the driver is often ejected, and there has been a number of fatalities over the years and in the industry. When you look at North America, the waste industry, I believe, is number 5 or 6 in the number of fatalities across the industry. And then additionally, and this is contributing to the staffing challenges that our contract service providers are facing. They are typically, they're slinging garbage bags, up to 4 per household, 1,000 or more households a day, getting on and off the truck. So it does lead to a significant number of musculoskeletal injuries. So when we looked at what we saw in the pilot areas and talking to comparators, the injury rates and severity declines substantially. You're going from sort of back injuries to a little bit of carpal tunnel over the years from operating the joysticks. So a much better outcome, and in turn that reduces the overall number of replacement staff they need and extends the career opportunities and length for those in the industry.
Hey, thank you very much for that information. Just anecdotally, all my family members have these larger carts. My 83-year-old father lives in a northern community, has no issues pushing it. It works better than carrying the regular bin, so that works. And then much younger family in an urban environment, the same situation. So from that perspective, the user experience, those families really like this project. Andrew, can you go into the cost differential and just go into some details on what's included? Especially the truck cost of the new truck over the 7-year term.
So I'll look to legal to stop me if I get too far into procurement. But certainly, so the services we provide would be the consistent level of service. So waste, organics collection, leaf and yard, porcelain, e-waste, that would remain the same through a number of the programs we operate. I believe it's around 26 or 28 trucks that the service provider is looking to purchase under this contract. So an equipment cost of roughly $13 or $14 million, plus the maintenance and operations of those trucks throughout the contract. The waste, I think, similar to transit. A large number of stops, so very hard on the vehicles, especially the braking systems. I think they're going in for brake replacements sort of once every couple months, if not more frequent. So it's that type of work in the economy, and as well as these trucks are subject to some aspect of cross-border tariffs through their assembly process. So that does drive the cost as well. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Councillor McDougall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Andrew, for answering all those questions of Mayor Barton's. Similarly, I formerly was the ward councillor in Scugog where this was rolled, no pun intended again, rolled out. I had heard no complaints in that area, and I was actually quite surprised because there was a lot of long driveways that I thought, oh my gosh, people are going to not like this at all. I didn't hear any of that. I too, as well, lost a friend actually in Uxbridge Township who was a waste truck driver on a rural road on a soft shoulder, separately. And again, I was at the works presentation where we talked about the shoulder injuries, the cuts, the back injuries, the wrists, and all these things that the drivers go through in terms of, you know, trying to throw that number of garbage bags in the truck. Andrew, just a question. Was I understanding that perhaps by having the bins, once we purchase the bins for everyone, it may be more competitive in terms of our pricing options for having companies bid on these contracts?
So yeah, so the life of the bins themselves will extend past the life of the contract, and I think the warranty in the industry is sort of a 10 to 12 year warranty on the bins themselves. So certainly, you know, over the longer period of time, you know, we are still expecting, you know, cost savings versus the status quo of the manual collection, separate from again the inflation and the costs that are, you know, the underlying driving factors which are sort of in place no matter how you collect.
But no, I'm thinking in terms of the bidding on the contracts, knowing that you can have a driver collect these bins automatically and not have drivers being injured, it might competitively show up in the bids over time.
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. Yes, so there are even some providers that are no longer bidding on manual collection contracts. So it does extend our reach into more service providers for increased competition, which, you know, theoretically translates to improved pricing.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, that exhausts the speakers list, so I will call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, that carries. Now, for the item that we've all been waiting for, 7.9 Cal 40, Provincial Development Charge Reduction Program. Councillor Lee, are you moving that to get it onto the floor? Okay, I need a seconder. Mayor Foster, the item is now on the floor. Councillor Lee?
Thank you, Chair. Just making sure you can hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Thank you. Question to staff regarding the repayment time frame. So, you know, we will reduce 30 to 50 depending on the agreement. Did the province or feds say like what the time frame is of paying it back to the municipality is?
So through the chair to the councillors. So this is a project-specific grant application. So the money that flows in through the province, they're administering it on behalf of them and the federal government. The payments from the ministries will come based on key milestones of our project delivery. That is our understanding based on the information we have available right now. So the capital costs of the project could extend to, I believe it's 2035. So while the reduction in the DCs is over a period of 3 years, the cash that's coming in to fund the capital projects will be extended over a longer period of time.
And then there's going to be ultimately a 10% delta where the municipality will kind of have to eat those DCs, if I'm not mistaken. So based on your preliminary kind of mapping out, because, you know, our finances over the next few years are pretty, I won't say dire, but, you know, we're approaching hard times in terms of property tax increases. Have we factored in that 10% delta on the theoretical developments over the next few years yet, or that's way too early to even discuss that?
So through the chair, so certainly as we're evaluating the different projects that we may choose to submit to this application, that's one of the factors that we're certainly considering. So there are ineligible costs. One of them is our soft costs.
a portion of land costs are ineligible as well. And then there's the 10%. Now, some of those soft costs can count towards the 10% that is ineligible. We're working with the province right now to understand what flexibility there is to apply other funding sources that may not be direct user rate revenue or property taxes to be able to offset those costs. One of those would be development charges. So if those costs are DC eligible, could we still use development charges to fund those? And that's what we're seeking clarity for. So certainly, once we have better understanding of that, we'll be able to quantify what the impact is to the region and ultimately the user rate payer or the property taxpayer based on our submission. But it is, to your point, still early days for that.
In terms of the 8.8 billion pot, so to speak, that every municipality in Ontario is pulling from, will there ever be an instance where we are caught kind of flat-footed, where it's like, oh, we've run out of money, even though we may have made assurances to developers that we could get them waived? Like, will we ever hit that kind of issue, or generally we'll be getting constant updates of how much of the 8.8 billion is remaining?
So through the chair, so certainly we're working very closely with the province. We understand it will be a competitive program in order to secure funding. We're looking to make our best application forward, making it attractive for the criteria that is offered. The DC reduction would be contingent on the region securing grant funding from the provincial and federal governments in order to essentially repay the amount of forecasted DC losses resulting from the DC reduction. So certainly those are all things that are under consideration. There is a risk, obviously, when we're sizing the amount of our application and our ask with respect to funding, we're basing it on what our modeling would estimate to be the loss in DC revenue. There could be a case where we underestimate, there could be a case where we overestimate, and certainly those have risk implications for the region.
Is there any wording we can put in our agreement with the developers to kind of demand, so to speak, that the money saved goes directly to the consumer? Is there any like proof of concept where they can show us that, oh yeah, we got 10 million, just a round number, and we applied all 10 million of that towards the customer, so that it is effectively actually lowering prices instead of really the developers are seeing a windfall as a result of this DC removal?
Yeah, I'll have our CAO respond.
The province has been clear that cost reduction to the cost of housing is not necessarily an objective here. If that materializes, that would be fantastic. However, the intent is with the reduced DCs that it would spur developers to get shovels in the ground. The province at the senior staff level did indicate that if this goes through along with the HST reductions on certain houses, there would be our residences, there would be pressure put on developers to get shovels in the ground, but that appears to be the top priority right now. That being said, we can certainly, as a region, look at what our expectations are from local developers. I think they will probably be discussing it with each other across the GTHA, but it's certainly something we can keep in mind as we get to the point where we may be formalizing agreements.
Okay, and last question, and thank you, Chair, for the latitude. Will the lower tier municipalities have the ability to make, in a sense, suggestions to the region as to which developers or which projects we feel should be kind of DC removed? Because I think now that once we make the decision as a region, I'm sure all the lower tiers will subsequently make their own decisions. But this really only works if they work in tandem. So really, like, what is the region looking for from the lower tiers to decide which projects to move forward on?
I'll start and then turn it over to Nicole. We have already had one meeting with the local CAOs when the program was first announced, and you understand the timelines around this program are incredibly tight. We are regrouping, I believe, on Monday with the CAOs, and Nicole will be at that meeting with her colleagues, the treasurers from the local level, to talk about where we are in alignment, if there are opportunities to develop joint applications or applications that are in alignment. A joint application is certainly very will be very difficult to manage, given that if the region, for example, is awarded a grant, but not the local, but the local may well be required to reduce development charges because they're in partnership with the region. So we're trying to avoid that, but we are having discussions in terms of how to best move forward. And I'll look to Nicole to see if she wants to add anything.
So maybe just to add some of the other criteria, so in addition to what the CAO mentioned, when we're looking at prioritizing regional projects to advance, certainly we're looking to ensure strong alignment with the program criteria that's outlined by the senior levels of government. So they're looking for the shovel readiness of the project, the ability to have it completed by the timeframe within the program. We're also looking at they're also looking at the number of housing units that are enabled and created through this investment. From a regional perspective, in addition to those criteria, we're certainly also looking at minimizing the financial impact to all of the property taxpayers if it was a property tax funded program, or a water and sewer ratepayer if it was water and sewer infrastructure projects. So those are, in addition to certainly where there is alignment, we'd look for that as well. But those are specifically when we're looking at regional project prioritization, those are the factors that we're considering.
But we wouldn't be looking at it in terms of, I guess, like, sorry, pardon my language, but it's like fairness to the municipalities. Like, we're not going to, like, it's going to be the Hunger Games once this program is released, and once all the local municipalities either, opt in or opt out. Those that opt in are obviously going to want, their projects move forward. So it's just like, from a regional perspective, we're not looking at it from terms of, okay, Oshawa's 34% of the population, they'll get 34% of the applications. We're not going to approach it that way. It really will, in a sense, be first come, first serve, and whoever fits the regional kind of prerequisites for the program. Is that correct?
Well, through the chair, I'll just start. We are looking at what council has already approved with respect to our capital program, and we're looking at projects that are ready to go in the ground as quickly as possible, given the terms of the proposed program. But I will just remind council that we're dealing with major infrastructure projects, and regardless of where we land, and we really haven't landed there yet, they will ultimately serve more than one municipality and more than one geographic area, large geographic areas. And I'll turn it over to Nicole.
So the only other thing I may just add is that the DC reduction will be across the board a DC reduction, so that will benefit all development in all municipalities in terms of that incentive. Also, we're looking to make the strongest case with the projects we submit. If they are projects, as the CAO has mentioned, that have already been approved and have approved funding for them, that will free up additional financial resources that can be shifted to other high priority projects across the region to serve the development that's needed as well. So it really opens up, if we're successful, and hopefully we are, it really opens up financial flexibility for us as well in order to apply those to other projects. So even though a selected project may be in a certain municipality, it also has benefits to other projects because it would free up that financial flexibility for those as well.
Okay, Chair, I appreciate all the questions and answers from staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor Foster?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so and for the work that has been done on this in a very, very short period of time, I thank you. I'm going to tag along with some of Councillor Lee's comments that you've got to get these projects in. Clarington has already expressed which projects we think we are putting forward. I would think that there is an alignment with some of the projects, where you facilitate what the lower tiers could do. Have you had any discussion with the lower tiers on break-even proposals? So there are some numbers ranging from just shy of $500 million in Durham region. So what we are foregoing in DC charges, and depending on activity. But do you have a sense of cumulatively across Durham region what we need to break even on this?
So through the chair, there is a DC working group that has been established as well, which Mary leads from the region's perspective and has involvement with all of the local municipalities on it as well. So I know there's been lots of dialogue back and forth on that as well. And certainly we've shared out information with respect to how the assumptions we've used to underpin our projected break-even point and for the information in the report. And certainly we've sought feedback from locals as well to try and align those estimates as well.
But the number that I'm looking at in the report, 7.2, so this is sort of kind of the worst case, would be $486 million. So I'm assuming that for us to move forward with, and if we are forgiving lots of DCs because there's lots of activity, that the region's cost is $486 million. Am I reading that correctly?
So that's our scenario where we think it's most likely. It's sort of the middle of our scenarios that we've been monitoring and modeling. In terms of the regional cost associated with that would certainly be the amount that we'd be looking to advance for our application. In terms of the regional cost potential regional cost associated with that application, it's very much project specific. So it will depend on the ineligible cost components. It will also be impacted by if there are cost components that are the ineligible, but also the parts that are perhaps not growth related.
I'm going to jump in. Don't want to be rude
Sorry.
and cut you, but you're doing a deeper dive, I think, than where I'm trying to head here. There is a point at which we could apply. The province will pick off of the menu of the projects that we have put forward. But if the province provides us with $10, and our estimates assume that we are losing $100 in DCs, we are going to be forced to say no, because the difference between $10 and $100 is going to have to be borne by the taxpayer. Yeah. Simplistically, is that?
Yes, apology. That is correct. I misunderstood. Yeah.
So the question is, if possibly the cost is $100, meaning we would need to get that $100 at the region for the province, do you have a sense what all of the lower tiers accumulated look like? So if we look at a total package, the province needs to come to Durham Region and the lower tiers, do we have a total price tag on that?
I don't have it at the moment, but as Elaine had mentioned, we're meeting with the CAOs and the treasurers next week. And certainly we can look to compile that information based on the applications that the locals may be submitting as well, and can certainly report back on that.
So and the reason I bring this up, my fear with this is we've got $8.8 billion over 10 years' time. Durham Region is saying, I'm just going to round it up to $500 million. Clarington's number, not confidential, is probably our staff figure break even is around 53. Mayor Carter, I don't know if you're able to share your number or not, but we start adding up the break even numbers. I don't know. It's going to be difficult to move forward. So we want people working. We want houses. We want all of this. But there is a risk return issue that we're going to have to deal with. Have you looked when you looked at your scenarios on growth in Durham Region? Had you looked across the entire region, or did you break it down into the municipalities to see if Clarington thinks it's going to be 1,200 units and you think reasonably it's 800? That makes a huge difference. Do you have guidance that discreet?
Sorry for the delay through
all
the
right.
chair. So our modeling is based on the underpinnings in the scenario. The first scenario, the sort of the 486 scenario, is based on our development charge background study unit count. It is not. It is looking at it, the region broadly, not built up from local estimates by local municipality, and that's the case for the other two as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The challenge is, if this is wildly successful, the local taxpayers, our residential taxpayers are going to be faced with a bill, and while it's complicated, it's also fairly straightforward. And I think we need to communicate that with the federal government, with the provincial government. We want to get houses built. We want to get people back working, but given our fiscal challenges over the next few years, this is potentially scary. Thank you.
Mayor Carter?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Sorry, I was going to do that. Good afternoon. I have a lot of questions, so I'm going to try and direct them through you to our Commissioner of Financial Services. To our Financial Services, do you actually believe at this time you have all the pertinent information and details to be able to make a recommendation?
So through the chair, the report contemplates coming back to council once we hear back from the senior levels of government with respect to our grant application. And part of the reason for that notation in the report is because we are still working with those senior levels of government to clarify some important and perhaps material impacts or material components of the program that will really help us better understand what the potential financial implications and risks are to the region. So at this particular point, I'm not in a position to be able to clarify what those are. And that's part of the reason for coming back to council in the summer once we have feedback from the senior levels of government on our application to be able to provide additional details to this council on what those potential financial implications are. Hopefully not, but if there are some, what those are, so that we can make an informed decision on it.
So I appreciate your answer, and I understand that the recommendation is to submit the submission of an application to the federal and provincial government in the reduction program by June the 19th. I understand the timelines are very tight. I understand that you want to submit it. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means we're in or we're out, and so I'm concerned about that. The other thing that I appreciate your frankness. But our team, we're trying to really understand, based upon the information we have, clarity. We don't have clarity. And I don't know if your team has clarity, because what I just heard is that you would like to get more details before you can actually move forward. And that's concerning. The other part about it is everybody's talking about this 10%. When we tried to do kind of a speculative kind of exercise yesterday, and we talked about soft costs that are not cut. Our number's 37%, because we have to take into consideration a lot of things, but we're speculating. We really don't know. So is it 10%, or is it 37%, or is it 60%? We don't know, because we don't have the details. So do you feel confident with the 10%?
So the program guidelines are clear that 10% of the costs have to be a municipal share. So we know at a minimum there has to be a municipal contribution of 10%. What is not clear at this point is how we can opt to fund that 10%. Does that 10% have to come from property tax or user rate payers? Can it come from development charges if that 10% is a DC eligible cost? That's for us a big consideration. Is it 10%? Is it a higher percent? We know, and this is project specific, we also know, as you've mentioned, that soft costs are ineligible. We know that for land costs, we know that only a portion of those land costs will be covered by the grant. So depending upon what the project is that we provide, there may be more ineligible costs or there may not be. There are other considerations such as post-period benefit, not to get too complex, but there's also post-period benefit for development-related projects, as well as benefit to existing components, as well as ineligible components. Those obviously would not be covered by the grant either, and that's what could bring your 10% up higher to a higher number. And again, it depends on the project that is selected.
So you've done an analysis for us based upon the best knowledge you have today based upon your understanding. Have you shared that same financial model with this, with the commissioners of finance and the 8 municipalities?
So we have an area treasurers meeting this Friday, certainly, and this is on the agenda to talk about. I have had conversations, emails back and forth with other treasurers with questions and the like, but this Friday will be our opportunity to have a more robust conversation.
Are you going to share your framework in regards to the way that you've calculated $586 million?
Yes, and I have for those that have asked, and I'm certainly happy to share. We're certainly happy to share that, and
Okay.
we've also benefited. So, Mary's involved with the Ms. Simpson's involved with the AMO table for development charges, the ORS group, the RSTCO groups. As an industry, we're working very closely in sharing what information we have available, so that our understanding grows through those discussions as well. So that's certainly been helpful.
Can I suggest that I know that our treasurer has reached out to your department, have not heard back. So I'd appreciate somebody giving her a call based upon her inquiry. Are you concerned as the Commissioner of Finance? Are you concerned about cash flow issues that we're going to be facing? And have you taken that into consideration? And before we agree to something, should this body not be fully aware of what kind of cash flow issues we're going to face and how that may affect the budgets moving forward? Should that be part of the equation?
So that is an important consideration as well. So certainly, again, when we're looking at project selection, we're looking for projects that are shovel ready, that can be executed quickly so that we can get the revenue stream coming in from the senior levels of government around the same timing that we're taking that we're recognizing the lost DC revenue loss. So we're trying to pair those up as closely as we can. It is a really strategic decision around which projects we will advance in for application. But certainly that is a factor that we are considering, is the timing and cash flow, and that will form part of our basis when we report back to council on the financial impact, should we be successful in our application for council to consider before the TPA.
So us supporting this recommendation doesn't tie us to anything? We're not obligated to anything? Is that what I understand?
No, we're not obligated to anything.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's on the record. And when we talk about in or out and what that 30 or 40 or 50% is, my understanding is it can't be just specific. I can't just say the downtown core. It's got to be our commitment across the board. Is that our also under? And again, we're flying blind, just like you guys are.
Well, Mayor Cartner, in fairness to all our municipal staff, they only found out this
Yeah, I know.
2 weeks ago. And it changes every day.
I get that. So that's why I'm asking these questions, because it scares the kajibers out of me. Go ahead.
So through the chair, yes, our understanding is that the DC application, so through our application, we submit for projects, and through those projects, we calculate what our estimated DC lost revenue is, and we indicate in our application how much we're prepared to reduce the DCs by, in order to, if that grant is successful, like if we're successful in the grant. So we're trying to match those two up. The DC reduction that we commit to between 30 and 50%, that amount has to be bottom line DC reduction. So we may structure it so that we have more of a reduction on the DC for water and less of a reduction, I'm just using this as an example, on transportation. And we will tailor that based on which projects we're applying for. So if we're applying for a water project, the DC rate will go down for water. Transportation, if we're not applying for any transportation projects or paramedic projects or transit projects, those DC levels will stay the same, those rates. But overall, for the total DC for a residential unit, will be reduced between that 30 and 50%. There is an extra complication when it comes to area specific, which we're trying to work with the province on as well, because that's another complicated factor.
So we don't have those specifics in regards to area specifics geographic, correct?
The region's area specific bylaw, correct.
Right. So that's another major issue because, I mean, we have CIPs. We could say, yeah, they're downtown. We got 1,000 units. Let's go. And we're all set. But our understanding, based upon the limited amount of information we have, is that's not the case. It has to be a broad brush. You've spoken several times about projects that the region has identified. I don't see it in our report of those projects. Is there a list of projects that are available to members of council?
So unfortunately, not at this time. We're still working on the development of that list. We're looking at it very closely with the criteria that we have based on the information that's being, that we're learning and working with the province on this. So at this point, we don't have a final project list. If we had one, we would have included one.
And is there a time limit in regards to this? If it gets approved and the region says yes, if somebody pulls permits with the reduction of development charges, is there a clock on that? Have they made that specific that the project has to be up and running within the 36 months?
So that's certainly something that we noted in the report that we're looking to see if we can include in this to make that requirement be that those developments, in order to receive the 30 to 50% reduction, that they have to achieve occupancy within a set period of time, as an example, 3 years. We're working to understand whether that will be allowed through the program as well.
You must be frustrated based upon this coming across your desk with not all the details that are necessary to make in your profession, in your designation that you have. I know you well enough that you don't like to speculate. You like to be factual and actual. So you got to be frustrated based upon what has been presented so far.
So certainly we're looking to, with our colleagues, we're certainly looking to get as much information as we can to make the best decisions that we can in the interests of our ratepayers and taxpayers on this program.
I appreciate your frankness and your response, Mr. Chair. That's just some of my questions, but I understand what they're trying to accomplish. I just think many of us are concerned about cash flow. We're over $100 million just on the back of a napkin right now without even, everything else. To be absolutely honest, I mean, at $100 million, I don't know where I'd get $100 million from. So our team doesn't know where it's going to come from, and our cash flow looks not great either. So anyway, so that's just our concern. Thank you, sir.
Our staff has never mentioned that they would be frustrated at anything because the work that they do on our behalf each and every day is the work they do. But I will say that I am frustrated when I meet with our staff here at the region, and to this day, I still don't understand it. And I can't imagine what it will be like trying to explain this to the public, as I think there's an election in Ontario, but ending in October, but it is such a complicated issue, and you're absolutely right that the property tax base is going to end up doing something here, and we just don't know what. So for your comments, Mayor Carter, appreciate it. Thank you. Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is this for purpose build or is it for all projects?
Our understanding, it is for the residential DCs. We are seeking clarification on how it may or may not impact non-residential DCs, but our working assumption right now is that it's residential, all forms of residential.
All forms of residential. So would this apply to projects that already have started? And would they be able to apply for this, or is this for new? I mean, it's a 3-year pilot, so somebody would also have to already have a site plan in, correct? I mean, they wouldn't want to be starting from scratch now. You would never get there. So I'm assuming that it's like new projects?
So there, in terms of, I'll just separate it out between the revenue thing, the revenue stream for the foregone DC revenue or the DC reduction. The date is for any applications received after March 30th of this year. On the capital expenditure side, for the applications that we'll be submitting for the grant funding, our understanding there is that, again, as long as the project hasn't started construction, it can have design, it can have some other pre-works done, but as long as the construction has not started, we're just seeking clarification if it's the end of March or if it is upon senior government approval of the grant funding. We're just trying to understand better what that construction start date is.
So, as I understand it, the $8 billion was handed from the federal government to the provincial government. Is there a framework where the province reports back to the federal government on how the money was distributed?
I'm not, so through the chair to your, oh, sorry, I'll let the CAO respond.
I just have a bit of information on that. The $8.8 billion is 50% federal money, 50% provincial money.
Okay.
The federal government has left it to the province to develop and implement the program, but ultimately, when the province makes recommendations, they will have to go to the feds for their own review and approval within a very tight time frame.
The only reason I ask is because there was a comment when Bill 23 came out that we would be made whole. And I don't recall, maybe Pickering has because they've had a lot of BFF money, but we haven't been made whole. And so, this is another promise of if you do this, you'll get this. And I just, it's to Mayor Carter's point, it's a lot of money that is being asked for upfront and be funded through taxpayers. And then they're never going to see that paid back to them, right? Like even if we get the money, we're not going to pay it back to them. So it's good, bad scenario, right? Anyway.
It's over a 10-year period. So it's only, 800 million, over 800 million a year divided by all the communities in Ontario. So it is very interesting, and I'm still waiting for the check from Bill 20. Was 23? Bill 23 that left us about $65 million short.
Yeah, makes me say bad word.
Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to make sure we're not complicating a cheese sandwich here. When I read this document, this is my understanding of it, and I'm thinking about people at home watching this who haven't had the opportunity to read this document. So here's the development charges that are going to be levied against the developer to build residential housing projects. And right now, there's a bit of a slowdown. So what the federal government wants to do is come along with money, and at whatever amount, they are going to give some money to the municipality to refund them for the discount that they're going to give to the developer, which incentivizes the developer to build the housing starts. That's what I took from this. Now, I understand that, where we put that refund money and what we apply it to and everything, that's in-house, and that maybe complicates it for us. But for people watching this, isn't that what the purpose of this federal housing piece is?
So I like your analogy. So if you hold that piece of paper up right now and tear 10% of that page off.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about. That would be the municipal component would be, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's about a 10% cost to the municipality, which would be paid for out of the property tax base. That we understand today. Yeah.
Yes, potentially. The other thing is that it's not on a direct unit. So in your example with the piece of paper, that with your example of the piece of paper, that assumes that we know exactly how many units are going to come through, and we know exactly how much foregone revenue we have. What we're trying to do is match a project because we're not getting it per unit. So the senior levels of government are not reimbursing us per unit of development as we have it come in. Instead, what they're doing is they're giving us funding for capital works. And so what we're trying to do is size our grant application for a capital project that will be over 10 years with what we anticipate will be the development units that are going to come in and pay less DCs. So it isn't a direct reimbursement for foregone DC revenue. There's a bit of a complication because we're having to match it to a capital project.
Yeah, and I, like I say, if I'm looking at this as a person who either hasn't read the report or got that initial, I understand the complexities of that, but I think on a simplistic basis, the idea is, well, you drop your DCs by this amount, and because we're gonna reimburse you for that gap, and then that reduced cost can be passed on to the developer, who can then be incentivized to build however many units of what type residential. That's it in essence. Thank you. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, but Councilor Kerr, it doesn't completely fill the gap. So what happens is if you, say you had a subdivision with 100 homes, and then all of a sudden, those homes all need water and sewer and all the other infrastructure, we still will have to make up 10% of that. It's not 100% cost recovery. And so, you understand now? Yeah, so in the end, somebody has to make up that difference, whatever the amount may be. Mayor Carter is absolutely right. We don't know what the final number is going to be. And there's only one way to make money, make up money in what we do, and it goes to the property tax base. Councillor McDougall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So these monies are going to go to capital projects. What happens if we make the investments into those capital projects and the demand's not there?
Sorry, Councilor McDougall, I didn't hear the very end. What happens if the capital projects?
So you make these investments and the demand isn't there. We have 30,000 condos completing in Toronto like this year. They don't know who's going to buy them. What if we make this commitment and the demand's not there?
So there is a risk. The risk you've pointed out is a good risk. There's the risk that we're building infrastructure that will be underutilized. We'll be pre-building it, and the development that's required to utilize that asset isn't materializing at the rate that we had hoped.
Sorry, is that the answer?
That's the answer.
That's the answer. So we build it, it's underutilized, and it's not getting paid for.
It would still be paid for because the grant is reimbursing us for our project work. So as long as we complete the project within the timeframes, we would get that grant money back for those projects.
But how often do we complete to Chair Henry's example, how often do we complete a works project with the size of pipe for 100 homes when we know that there's another 4,000 up the road? We build the size of the pipe for the 4,000 up the road, not for the 100 homes we're going to be building in the next 3 years.
We're not creating any new capital projects. We're looking at the priority projects that are already in our plan, and especially those ones that we're just about ready to break ground on. And as I said earlier, the province has committed to ensuring that the pressure is on the development community to actually start building as a result of this and other programs. And just a reminder, the DC reduction is only available for 3 years. So if they don't move in that 3 years, they will miss the opportunity.
Okay, and through you, Mr. Chair, thank you for that, Madam CAO. I mean, that still doesn't guarantee that there's demand just because those units are built. I understand the impetus of this, because when I think about the projects that are around us that have been listed in terms of, let's just say, Wesleyville, and I think of the tens of thousands of jobs that will be generated by these projects, knowing that we have the federal government as a partner in this, it means that we'll probably be tying future immigration targets to this sort of impetus in terms of we won't make the mistake of having large immigration targets and not having the infrastructure and housing in place when people come again. Is that what the overall lay of the land is here, through Mr. CAO? If anyone can answer that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I haven't actually heard it tied to immigration targets at all. I think that the objective provincially and federally is quite straightforward. It's simply to start getting the development sector to build the residential units.
Thank you through Mr. Chair, for Madam CAO. But for whom?
Again, we would be using our long-term plans and the Envision Durham projections of where the growth is coming to ensure that we're not going to be building large infrastructure in an area that we don't foresee any growth in for 10 years or more.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. There's only 13 in the room, Madam Clerk. We still have 8 online? Perfect. Okay, Councillor Shahid.
Thank you so much. Through you, Chair Henry, just a couple of things that our financial commissioner had said about meeting with other municipalities and collaborating with all 9 municipalities. So if I heard it correctly, there is an ongoing conversations happening with commissioners all throughout Durham region.
On Friday, yes.
On Friday. And this is an ongoing conversation because I remember that there was a motion to review the DC charges at the town of Whitby, but we tied it with what is happening at Durham region here, and then there will be a report back. So when do we anticipate our report back on this? September or sooner? August. So there perhaps would be a special council meeting?
Yes, there will be.
Thank you. I'll be looking forward to that. Now, when do we have to give a reply to this? Is there a timeline provided by the province?
We have to submit an application by June 19th.
Okay. So that's just around the corner. Yeah. Okay. Now, I know that there was a question asked by, I believe, Councillor Lee on which projects will be chosen. Can I have a simplified answer on that, or this is still an ambiguous pile?
It's still an ongoing thing.
So it's not a cheese sandwich, it's a crazy sub.
There is no bread in this cheese sandwich.
Got it. Thank you. To me, it's complicated. It is even scary. And I don't wish this on any taxpayers' money on this. It is definitely challenging. I'll leave it there, Chair Henry. I'm still trying to understand this. To be very honest, that paper analogy did not work for me. We'll probably have to cut a pie somewhere or a sandwich. Thank you.
So if you're going to utilize the pie, it would be 1 slice is missing. You cut it into 8, 1 slice is missing. Councillor Chapman.
Thank you. I know it sounds simplistic that we're going to lower the development charges, right? And we're going to get all this money back. But you made a good point. $8.8 million over 10 years is what the program is. That's $800 million a year. Let's say that development really picks up in Durham because it's Durham's time, as we always say. And we've got almost $500 million was that estimate. Not counting, I mean, we heard Mayor Carter say about 100 million for Oshawa, 50 million for there, so probably add another 500 million, that's $1 billion. You think we'll really get 1/8 or whatever that is, 10%, whatever, that big portion?
100 million.
The other thing I worry about is that we're going to have to build this infrastructure. I know we have to build it anyway, I mean, in order to get this development and collect development charges. But in order to do that, we're going to take debentures out, right? So the question is interest on debentures soft cost? Or is it eligible for reimbursement?
Great question. So the cost of any eligible costs that will be refunded from grant, we will fund from grant and not, we won't have to debenture that piece. It will be funded from grant. The 10%, which could be more depending upon our level of ineligible costs, depending on the project, may be debentured or not. If that portion is debentured, those interest costs would not be eligible for funding from the grant.
Okay, so it could be closer to what Mayor Carter was saying, 37% or whatever. I mean, it sounds very simple. It sounds like a great idea to get builders building faster. I think the HST rebate makes a big difference because home builders build homes based on people that are willing to buy them, right? I mean, they do it on speculation as well, but they're selling more homes, so therefore they build more homes, right? Just back to the one important question, he asked a lot of them, but the very important question that Mayor Carter asked, if we say yes to this recommendation, it does not tie our hands, because what I'm concerned about is, you know, people move into a developer pays a development charge to get his permit, right? And that development charge is paid on top of the price of the house. So the person who's buying the house pays that development charge, right? But if we have to front end all this money and we have to get debentures and that cost us, then everybody that's in our tax base may end up paying for some of this instead of the person who's getting the home faster. That was my concern. So the important question was answered, that if we say yes, then staff sounds like they've got a heck of a lot of work to do, and then come back. I'm not sure if I'll be on holidays, but anyway, they come back and then we have more finality to the whether we're going to yes or no, and we're going to do this or whatever, and they'll come back as they usually do with, here's what it's really going to cost you in our estimate. So, I do appreciate all the work that the CAO and the treasurers and all the staff in finance are doing, and the fact that we'll hear more probably from our treasurer and our CAO after that meeting on Friday. I'm glad it's not Friday the 13th. Thank you.
And the result of this today will generate a council meeting this summer. So, Councillor Curry, you've spoken already once. Well, you've spoken once in council. There's only one round. Is it a clarification of a question? Oh, sorry, we're in committee of the whole. Thank you. So you do get to speak after. You know what it is? Lunch is in the back, and it's time. So go ahead, Mayor Barton.
Look, please help you out anytime.
Thank you. Mayor Barton?
Hey, thank you very much. Mr. Chair, and to everyone who created this report, thanks. Great conversation so far. I don't think we have any choice. I think we need to apply for this. I think we need to have conversations with the province, and then we'll have a really long, in-depth discussion on the deal that we're going to vote on. So I think we have to move forward. That's why I'll be voting for this, for the recommendation. But certainly lots of questions, and especially for a community like Uxbridge, our taxes are extremely high. More than 60% of our taxes go to the region of Durham, which is much higher than some of the people in the south. And we know that there's an affordability crisis, and we know that there's only so much money in our residents' bank accounts, and we need to be really careful with how we make this move long term, that this does not increase our property taxes even more than it already has, especially with this very significant impact that the police capital budget is going to have. So we need to be really careful when we move forward, but I think these conversations have to happen. And if we don't talk to the province, I think we will regret it long term. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, Councillor Kerr.
That's okay. So one point that hasn't been made, I don't believe yet, is right now, these units aren't getting built. So we're not getting any property taxes from them. So if we incentivize the builder to build these, we're going to get the property taxes back. So it's not a case of just, do we get our development charges back or minus 10%? Maybe that 10% gets covered by the property taxes that we'd now be getting that we weren't going to get. So I think we need to keep mindful of what comes back our way as opposed to what comes out of our pocket in terms of development charges. That's all. I think, this is going to incentivize growth, and with growth comes cost, but also comes revenue. Thank you.
So thank you. Councillor Kerr, I'm just going to follow up. Places, houses aren't being built. And I had an excellent conversation with a young person yesterday. And it's not just the cost of the house. It's the cost of the house, it's the cost of the property taxes, it's the cost of the car payments. And when we all graduated from school, you look back when we all did, in my case, $20 an hour was a pretty big thing. $40,000 a year was an amazing thing. You could buy a house for under $50,000. Well, now it takes 2 full-time people working to try to afford to buy a house, and in turn, they've now got a house and a mortgage payment that are probably not far apart in price, and then they've got car payments and all the payments related to kids. This is a path where we just cannot continue to put the costs back onto the people that live in communities, not just in Durham, but anywhere in Canada. And then you look at other places in the world where they're changing the way they collect property taxes and the way they deal with income tax. You look around the room here, there's not a person in this room that's not paying 35% at least minimum in income tax. And then with the money that you have to pay after taxes, you have to make your property tax payments, your mortgage tax payments, you have to pay for your kids. My God, nobody's thinking out 30 years from now. I won't be in this seat, so I have latitude. I'm also the chair, so I have a fair bit of latitude in this conversation. But if you go with a 3% property tax increase to the end of time, nobody will be able to afford property taxes in any community in this country. And the model is broken. So the federal and provincial governments come together with a plan. This entire $800 million could be eaten up by the city of Toronto next year. This is wrong. It's time to have a conversation about all of this. And not that I want to look at south of the border, but look what's going on in Florida with no property taxes on homes, $250,000 or less, no income tax in some communities, and they're making it work. Nobody in this country is talking about 30 years from today and how it's going to affect our children and our grandchildren. And they're okay to do this because we deliver all of this service. We make it work. We stand before our residents and try to explain what the increase in property taxes are and to justify it. This is wrong. And I know I'm not popular, but I'm not wrong in my comments. But, I look at the young people coming to work in this building and the challenges that they're going to have to live the lives that we all live. And I worry about our kids having that great dream that they can be more successful than their parents were. I can tell you those days are over. And it is wrong. So I'm not sure I'm finished ranting for the day yet, but on this item, there are no more speakers. But the system is broken. And I hope they're listening to this meeting today. But it needs to be addressed. It needs to be fixed. And the average Canadian just wants to get on with their life and live their dream in a country where dreams used to come true. Anyways, I'll call the vote. Does anybody want to record a vote on this item? Yes? No. Councillor Shahid has called for a recorded vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Recorded vote on 2026 Cal 40 is starting now.
It carries. 19 yeses, 5 noes. Members of council, there are no members' motions to be considered. However, we do have 9.1, which is a confidential matter. Is there anyone needing to go into closed session on this item? Seeing none. Councillor Chapman, will you move it, please? And Councillor Dyes, would you second that item, please? Okay. The item is now on the floor. Recorded vote. Okay, thank you, Councillor Chapman. Yeah, I said thank you. Recorded vote. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Recorded vote on confidential report number 2026 Cal 38 is starting now.
It carries 23 to 1. Members of council, Madam Clerk, that is the business for the day. You've done an excellent job today, keeping me in order and on time for the most part. So we'll call the vote on adjournment, moved by Councillor Shahid, seconded by Councillor Chapman. On the motion to adjourn, all those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none. Thank you, members of council and staff. Lunch is in the back room.